Okay, that's a microphone and it's doing the wavy thing. Can you hear me? This is not my normal mic. Fuck, okay. I know, the flannel came off. I'm warm, I'm stressed. Fuck. Well, thank you very much for the support right now, science, because I need it so bad. I appreciate your support endlessly. Should I try and figure out my mic? Because I know that my right now it's just the native mic in my actual computer, not my cute mic that glows, and it definitely wasn't muted. And like it's showing here, like obviously it's unplugged right now, but it's showing. I'm just gonna try and plug it back in. I didn't change anything, and everything looks normal. Anything is Gucci, sound is lovely. I mean, okay, well, I guess, should I just roll with this, or should I try and shoot the trebles, you guys? Like, what do I do? I've never had this issue before. This is piss. I'm just gonna try one more time, because I really like my glowy mic. And that's just the way things are. Also, hi, NBCSG first time chat. I noticed earlier. I appreciate you being here. Welcome. It's not normally this chaotic. That's kind of a lie, because it is frequently chaotic, but it's not always this chaotic technologically speaking. Frequently it's, just an issue with my own sanity, is more where the chaos tends to come from. But okay, you know what? I think we might just roll with this. Because I just added the mic twice and deleted it, and it's showing, but it's not doing the thing, but it's gonna bother me. I'm not going to lie, it's going to bother me. And it doesn't look muted, and everything looks fine. Device. Ooh. Hold on. I don't want to make it give feedback. Find microphone? Test the audio. Test. You guys, did I do it? Am I doing it? Can you guys hear me? Because this is on this mic. Did I do it? Did I do a thing? Who needs Get a Grip? She's technologically advanced. Please tell me it's working. I'm so happy for myself. Hoon got up. She's wagging. Okay. Wow. Guys, we really muscled through that together. I appreciate your support. Yes, that's totally a Pedro Daddy, not meme, Pedro Daddy meme emote moment. And Schmassity Sandwich, welcome back. Oh, look at these little dudes. Those are cute. I like it. Anyways, Science, hey, hi, how are you? Have been loving your streams this week. Was really interested in the elephant deep dive. I have a pile of grading super big, and I was like, I'll just take a break and watch a little bit of stream. And I was just sitting there this close to the screen, trying to read the stuff that you were putting on there. And when that cat that's heavy breathing, that meme from 10 years ago where the cat's eyes are really big and it's anyways, it was really, really entertaining. And I like learning about kind of those related but not super topical to my area of research kind of bits of neuroscience, because it's funny how much it kind of links together, right? In any event, yeah. So welcome. I plan to talk about ADHD and just kind of focus in general and stuff tonight. And as I was saying, I had planned to research this just a little bit more than I actually ended up doing for various reasons, mainly because I'm busy, but also because I have been having migraines this week, which is kind of really digs into your productivity to have a migraine. But there's not really much you can do about it other than I take Imitrex, which is sumatriptan, which is basically promotes serotonergic activity. But it makes you sleepy. So then you get rid of your migraine, but you're asleep. So, either way, you kind of lose the productivity. I'm having a different type of tea today, and I believe I have a cup that no one's seen before. So we'll just introduce that. Profanity alert. It says bitch. It's actually a like cup from the 70s. It's like a vintage. It's hard to kind of see that it says bitch. There we go. That's much better. Anyways, it came with a little saucer too. It's got like a matching cup and saucer, and it's this kind of like vintage 70s, kind of like dingy green that I really like. Bit of neuroscience. 'Tis a lovely cup. Yeah, and so I'm having a different type of tea, and Hoon is once again, every day when I start my stream, she starts doing cute stuff in the background and doing her little groan. Here's you guys ASMR for the day, or a reminder to hydrate or go to the bathroom, whichever this is for you. And the pot is really cute too, yeah. So this one, I actually got both of these from this place. It's actually closed now. It was called Boutique Chat Noir, so Black Cat Boutique. And it was this lady's kind of like vintage secondhand curated little shop. Her name's Mallory, and she's just amazing, but was in an area of town that's like super hard to, I guess, stay afloat. And she started right before COVID. I feel really bad for her actually, because she's super awesome. She's like a rescue dog from Iraq that like only has 3 legs or something, and he's just such a sweet dog. Anyways, she's a wonderful person, and I told her, I went in there frequently enough that she knew me, and I told her I was in the market for a teapot, and she's like, I'll get teapots, and she got a whole bunch of them. And then yeah, I really liked this one because it's got this kind of like fake wicker handle, and it's got this little bird on top. And if y'all know anything about me, if you're new here, I'm really into birds. Also really into rats, birds, cats, dogs, animals in general, mice, kind of all kosher around here, but particularly we're rat, bird, and dog enthusiasts in this realm, up in the sewer here. So yeah, anyways, ADHD, I wanted to talk about, I love this little rat, mouse, cyan mouse. See, you have so many cute emotes that I'm just frequently being brought into like a whole new world of ideas every time I look at the emotes, and I forget about them and stuff. You and Paleontologizing have tons of them. I don't have tea, but I do have beer. Can always count on you, 35 going on 65. I think that's like your general MO on the Friday streams, is you tell us about whatever craft beer you're drinking. And guys, I'm like 95 days without alcohol now. Like I'm in deep. And as you know, I have been off the drinking, the drugs, and the dating. But I re-downloaded dating apps just after the dating app episode of Vulgar Science on Monday, just to, check in, see if like the experience, now that I know a whole bunch of the neuroscience and psychology behind like some of the stuff that is experienced on there, I was like, maybe I'll go in with a different perspective and like different things will come at me. No, it's still awful. So just so you know, just maintaining our painfully single status around here. Favorite tea brand has to be Yorkshire tea. Are you English? NBCSG? I honestly, I don't know that I have a favorite brand. I do have favorite like varieties. Actually, you know what I do have? D'Artagnan. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce it. It's a French brand, but that's like my bougie tea that comes in these fancy little containers. I really like those guys. It's I think it's made in France, in like Toulouse or something like that. And I also really like, this is like right now I'm drinking Celestial Seasonings, I believe it is, and it's just Bengal spice. And the reason that I really like it is because usually to get like a spicy flavored tea, it needs to be black tea. So then it keeps me up. And I'm like super caffeine sensitive. So the thing that I really, really, really like about Bengal Spice is it has like a lot of spicy aspects to it, but it's actually a tisane or herbal tea, depending on what language and region of the world you're from. Oh yes, English. We love tea here. That's awesome. I've got a fair few friends. I'm going to be in England in a month and a half, just under 60 days. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to spend a significant amount of time in Cambridge, so I'm looking forward to that. I was going to spend more time in London because one of my friends is actually moving here, friends/colleagues, and I wanted to experience London while she's still living in London. But London's so fucking expensive, man. It's like bananas. Anyways, I'm like 12,000 days without drugs and 2,400 without dating. C Duff 182. Wonder who that is. Thank you for the follow. Y'all are in the presence of a celebrity. And I say that without irony because you guys have heard me talk about my best friend in the entire universe, who is the paramedic back home in Alberta, who, if you want to stop by on a special issue or a special episode of Vulgar Science, she's going to be talking about her experience being a paramedic in emergency medicine in Alberta on, I think it's the 15th of May. It's whatever the Monday is in May. I think I've said it before. Anyways, so yeah, this is my best friend, Carly, who I think I talk about every single time. Hi, bitch. Yeah. See, so we've been best friends probably for longer than a fair amount of you have been alive, depending on your age. And yeah, she's my other half. I'm just trying to find the day. I need to actually write this down, what day the stream is. And it's going to be a half hour earlier than usual because my mom wants us to be done in time for dinner. And we're going to be on Alberta time as well. So it's going to be on... Yeah, the 15th. Hey, I was right. Okay, so yeah, the 15th, and normally it would be at 7 p.m. Eastern time, but it's actually going to be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, 4:30 p.m. Alberta time, and it's going to be at my mom's house, and my mom is super jazzed. And she's like, maybe I'll make a cameo. So yeah, anyways, welcome, my fellow wonderful friend. And yeah, we're talking about ADHD, which has recently become quite salient to a lot of people in my friend group. So that's one reason that I wanted to talk about it. There's lots of like memes and stuff coming up lately about ADHD. And I know a lot of people, experience that to a degree on a spectrum. And I do want to talk about that once we get into the data and stuff like that. But we like to do our little debrief at the beginning where we, talk about people's lives and stuff like that. I missed this message from Schmacity Sandwich. It's good to know my experiences with dating apps are not unique. Okay, so I downloaded 3. Someone had mentioned in the dating apps episode on Monday that OkCupid was a thing, and I was like, I thought that was for like ladies wearing Depends and old men on Viagra, but apparently it's for young people too. So I was like, okay, I haven't tried that one. So I re-downloaded Tinder, I re-downloaded Hinge, and I downloaded OkCupid and like built a profile. And in OkCupid, they like make you answer a whole bunch of like just like idiotic questions. They're like, do you love Prime Minister Trudeau? And I'm like, what? And they're like, how important is that to you that someone else has the same answer as you? And I'm like, this is unhinged. Anyways, I was on there for about 45 minutes across the 3 apps. And I was like, I'm determined to like find one profile that I'm not just like at. And I was wildly unsuccessful. And that's not to say that like I'm actually actively looking to date right now, because honestly, your girl's pretty happy by herself. She's really enjoying streaming thanks to you wonderful people who actually come and talk and participate and stuff like that. So thank you. But I'm actually like not that bummed about being alone. Other than missing out on physical intimacy, things are pretty all right. So I had them downloaded for a total of 1 hour and I was like, this is piss. Got rid of those again. So anyways, even at redacted years old, our parents still make us eat dinner together. Well, to be fair, Carly is like literally like my sister. So my mom is like, well, you need to have dinner as a family. So yeah, anyways, we're literally as close as you can be to related without actually being related. Is it possible to fix a destroyed attention span? Yes. And we are going to get into ways that you can curate that with, everything from medication to things that you can do like right now in this moment kind of thing. So yeah. We'll get into it, I promise. There's going to be tools that you can walk away with actionable steps and stuff like that you can integrate, whether or not you have ADHD. This isn't something that's like, it's not a life sentence. You can get remission from it. You can have ADHD and grow out of it. You can grow into it. It can be engendered by your environment as well as your kind of mind, right? It is highly heritable. So like I can't remember the actual numbers, but it's something north of 50% more likely to have it if you have a relative that's like, aunt, uncle, or something like that. And I think like somewhere in the realm of 80% more likely if a parent or something like that has it. So yeah, anyways, yeah, it is possible, and we'll talk about it. I've never tried a dating app, but I have heard OkCupid, and one of my friends loves it. I think it's regionally dependent for all of the apps, and also dependent on your sexual orientation. Because as Dougie Licious was saying on Monday during the actual dating apps episode, for like anybody but gay men, Tinder is like the hookup app, but for gay men, because Grindr is so much a hookup app, that Tinder is actually where they go for like more serious connections and stuff like that. So it's all really relative on like the pool that you have it tuned to, right? So I don't know. That makes sense. I feel like relationships can die if there isn't a good fit. We love you, Neuro. I love you too, Science. Yeah. So it's so nice to have the support of a cool community and stuff like that. Oh my God, who is this amazing person on my screen? Ballot. You get used to the physical intimacy thing. Been almost 10 years for me. I don't want to get used to it. You get used to everything. You can get used to eating only bread crusts too, but do you want that? No, you do not. I presume. I don't. So I don't want to get used to that. Your girl's sometimes thirsty. Haha. I'm going to drink my tea now. Just marinate in that, Just think about that for a minute. Think about what you said. I'm kidding. I didn't let it steep enough before I poured it into the cup. This is very weak tea. I'm disappointed in myself. Anyways, I'll need to stick around because my ability to focus is non-existent. Well, here's the thing. Lots of people's ability to focus is low. Because the world doesn't, encourage that, right? Like we live in a environment, especially now, where things are demanding your attention, like every left, right, and center. We talked a bit about that in like the internet is, are we sheeple episode that I really didn't get super into the data. And I might actually circle back to some of the stuff that I had written down there. But the idea is that our brains are constantly being inundated with different, buys for our attention. And the way that, apps and the internet and various things are designed is precisely to engage those sorts of systems that make it really difficult to sustain attention. So anyways, goof place to befriend. What? Goof? I'm guessing you meant good. Good place to be. Every time I'm at home and wonder which of my parents I probably got ADHD from, they both do something that makes me think maybe both of them. My brother also got diagnosed with it as an adult. Honestly, here's the other thing. This is the thing that I really wanted to talk about, like broadly speaking, and I want to I'll probably say this 1,000 times throughout the stream, is remember that though diagnostics act like things are categorical, like you have it or you don't, that's just not the truth, right? Like the most salient example of this is autism spectrum disorder, right? We used to be like, are you autistic or do you have Asperger's? And Asperger's was like, you have mild autism. And then there was just full blown autism. And then we were like, okay, it's actually all the same disorder and it's just varying degrees of severity. It goes from, one end of the spectrum to the other, and every single person lands on that spectrum basically. And that's the case with all disorders, basically, or at least all symptomatologies associated with disorders, including the ability to sustain attention or focus. That's kind of the primary part of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And yeah, so it's possible that it's both. And it's possible that they both have it, mildly or a lot or somewhere in between, right? But the important thing is, be reticent to self-diagnose, because sometimes a diagnosis can be really helpful and it can kind of really ground you and make you have tangible things to lock onto. I've experienced diagnoses in my life that have given me extreme relief because there's something that finally explains why my brain is acting the way that it does. But for some people, it can feel like a death sentence. So it's a little bit something that you have to be really self-aware of in order to, make sure that it's something that's going to be helpful for you, because a diagnosis is something that we should be using medically to inform care, not to, nail a coffin shut or to, pigeonhole, right? So I think that the way that we kind of conceptualize these things needs to be really cautious, right? So you can have it, both your parents can have it, but that doesn't make it necessarily more extreme or bad or less extreme or bad than someone that, gets it kind of out of the blue or whatever, right? Not that I'm saying you were saying that, but just, I like to, temper that. Yeah, Tinder is definitely LTR oriented for gay men, in my experience as well. Hydrate. Oh God. Risto. No. All right, I changed it to only be 1 minute. So hold on, I'm going to take a sip of tea and then you'll get an Australian Alicia. It's going to be great, mate. Oh, look at this. We've got a first time chatter. Laya M. Core. Hey, g'day, mate. I'm going to be talking Australian for the next, I don't fucking know. Someone put on a timer and don't lie to me. I keep drinking the tea and it's garbage. Oh, look at this. Thanks so much. Every time I need to do the accent, I can't do it. I'm so good at doing it off the cuff, like immaculate at doing it off the cuff. But when I'm like, guys, I'm turning pink. I never blush. This is awful. Oh, I cry laughing. Okay. I'm gonna be fine. Okay. Why am I laughing so much at myself? Okay, here we go. I'll have you know, crust is my favorite part of the bread. Crust is my favorite part of the bread as well. We're best friendos, eh? We should make a doco about crust. Risto, thank you so much for the gift subs, and also Science, thank you so much for the gift subs. These are fantastic. I appreciate all of you so fucking much. That's gotta be a minute, right? Please don't make me do it more. I know I made this redeem points thing knowing that I don't want to do it. Nanners, guys, I'm behind on chat. Nanners, I presume this is another very close friend of mine. We're in the presence of even more celebrities in Alicia's life. Oh, you did it now. I'll probably need to do a dopamine detox. NB, we actually talked about dopamine detoxes and how that's kind of a thing, but also not really a thing. And I can get back into it, but it's also somewhere in one of my VODs. But yeah, dopamine fasting and dopamine detoxing isn't hugely a thing. You guys, with all these gift subs, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you just immensely in my heart and body and mind, and just, yeah, you make me stop this. Don't stop this. I mean, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know how to thank y'all enough. A hype train. Guys, the last time a hype train happened, I just sat here and was like, thank you, everybody, for your support. This is fantastic. Anyways, I'm going to try and catch up. I'm so behind. Look at all this. Hey, I brought my ADHD butt all the way over for this. You better be excited. I am excited to have you so much. Thank you for being here. For those of you that don't know, I think, I'm pretty sure that Nanners is a friend of mine. I believe I've told the story about going to Las Vegas to see California. Muse Clues, thank you so much for the gift subs. That's going to make it so that people can come in and see what this is about and not have to deal with ads and stuff like that. So I really appreciate the support. Yeah, so I'm saying the world is created by a neurotypical, but they want you to be everything at once. No human can do that, whether you have ADHD or not. That's basically, it's what I'm saying. Risto, You guys are amazing. I appreciate you all so, so much. Um, you gave me buttons to push, I shall push them. If that's not an ADHD characteristic, I don't know what is. Hi, Aaliyah. Oh, it's just such a relief for me to get diagnosed, and I should clarify, whenever I'm thinking about it at home, it's never in a bad way, and just one of those more casual remembering it is highly genetic things. Sir, I was resubbing. Thank you, sir. Pay it forward. She's too sober to do her Oxy accent on demand. You've never seen me not sober. None of y'all have seen me not sober. So realistically, you're right. I do do it much better when I'm drunk, as I've said. But also, like, when I know that I'm being like evaluated, whether formally or informally, I'm like, I get performance anxiety. Like, I wouldn't be able to keep it up if I was a dude. I would get performance anxiety 5 sure. Um, you guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're making me blush again. Look at this. And Nanner's got a tier 1 sub. And this is great. Wow. There's just so much information. Lots of blinking things. This is, and someone with ADHD's, wet dream or nightmare, really, depending on the type of person that you are. Anyways, I hope I made you proud. I have seen the not sober. Nanners has definitely seen the not sober. And Carly and I actually also do Russian accents like pretty regularly. Actually, we do it with like her whole family. Her cat's name is actually Vlad. I've spoken to you guys about my nephew Vlad is her cat. So Vlad, he's Russian kitty. Look at all this. You guys are so fantastic. I really like the Risto coffee emote, and I really want a tea one that's kind of similar. I'm gonna bite your idea because I admire you, and imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So one day I will have a teacup emoji. Helga und Philippe. Yeah, that's a callback. So Carly and I, a long time ago, we're just kind of dicking around with makeup, and this is when we lived together when I was like maybe 20, and we kind of just drew all over our faces with like eyeliner and lipstick and stuff like that, and she was Helga and I was Philippe, her husband, and yeah, basically I'm constantly, this is why you guys think I'm a theater kid, a musical theater kid, because I act like I'm a musical theater kid by doing all these wacky characters when I really am just, I don't know. I think I'm just weird. I'm a child. I'm a child. As I've discussed earlier on in the PP gang days, I will laugh at anything. I'm a Blink-182 fan as well. Neuro, I got another cup. Who's in this cup? I can't see it. I gotta zoom in with my literal face. Hold on. I can't tell who's in the cup. Is it a bee? Oh, it's a bee. Yeah, okay, it's a bee. It says bee in the thing. And sis goes there. So Carly, when we were like children, because we've known each other since 2nd grade, she's always done accents. Actually, now that I think of it, it's kind of weird. Anyways, yeah. And this goes there is when Carly was just like putting stuff away. We were on a trip or something like that, and she was like unpacking her bag and was just putting stuff there and just kept saying that this goes there. And yeah, that's just, anyways, this is why I am the way I am, because I have fun and it makes me laugh and it makes my cheeks hurt and my face hurt from smiling and laughing, just to act a damn fool. And you want to know what? You guys are all still here after seeing it many times. If you're new here, this is just what I'm like. So I hope you like it. I'm also, pretty eager to talk about neuroscience. So you get a bit of silliness, you get a little bit of science, and that's the way it goes. Thank you guys so much for the hype train. Level 2, I don't even really know what the levels of the hype train are because I've only had a couple and I just get overwhelmed and excited. But I really appreciate the support, like so much. Especially Risto and Science. You guys are dreamers that I aspire to be like. And, for those of you that don't know, Science is a science communication streamer and is one of the main reasons that I decided to start my own science communication stream. He does a stream with his wife and I'm going to try and do a shout out. Hold on. I can do it. Sigh. How do you say, where's the underscore? Science underscore stream. I can never remember stream. Anyways, am I doing it right? Did I do it? No, I just typed it, didn't I? Fuck. / shout out, right? Fuck, you guys. It's fine. This is what happens when I don't have a mod. Where's Doug? One day I'll know how to do this. The channel you are shouting out does not exist. I don't know how to type. Listen, just use your own minds and find science. They do amazing communication stuff that's probably a little bit more like PG, a little bit more family friendly than my content. But, such is the nature of especially vulgar science. Stretch. Okay, we can do that. Risto, I should just make you a mod. I know you and trust you well enough at this point. Talk neurospicy to me. Speaking of guys, I'm so behind. Speaking of the PP Gang days, did you see the article with a photographer from Dildo, Nova Scotia photographed a phallic-shaped iceberg? I did not. That sounds lovely, though. Honestly, the fact that there's a small town in Newfoundland called Dildo just brings me, regular joy. Gotta have a good time. It is how it is. I think it's mostly just tied to the emotes that get unlocked for people who contribute. That's cool. You progress levels as people donate to you. Each level is harder than the last, and the highest tribe seen is level 14. I believe it. That's a hype place to exist in. Ezra Pizza, hi, love the little pug emoji. If you wish, then I will be happy to help. Okay, let's do it. /MOD. Can I make you a mod? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to, you guys, this is the second modding that you're seeing on my stream. /mod, Risto Rock, right? 88. I think I did. Yay. Okay. There we go. I've got 3 now. Yeah. Respect the drip, fam. 35 boy on 60, so I've redeemed sticker. I meant to make my sticker pile. You guys are redeeming stuff because I didn't have channel points for anything interesting for so long. So Muse was saying that he's got 10,000 channel points. So I'm going to be talking an Australian accent every stream for the rest of history. Okay, hold on. I'm going to let you pick which sticker I stick. Just let me get, I have a pile of dinosaur stickers around here. Somewhere. Oh, look at this. Yeah. Hold on. You're going to be able to pick the stickers, so just, be ready. And I'm not going to show you every single sticker because we'd be here for about 50 years. But I am going to allow you to pick a sticker for me to put on this water bottle. So obviously there's not a whole lot of real estate here. But I actually have recently stuck this sticker. This one I got from Doug. Isn't it cute? Anyways, so you're going to be able to pick what sticker I stick. And I'll do it right here, right now. I'm rather ready. All right. So I've got just a whole bunch of Hello Kitty. I believe she's just wearing different outfits. There. I've got this long-eared fennec fox, I believe this is called. If you see one that that's it, just tell me to stop and I'll stop. I've got rainbow taco. That's lovely. Your girl loves a good taco. I've got this just kind of 80s Saved by the Bell wiggles and circle thing. Water buffalo being suspended by 3 balloons in primary colors. Basic white bitch, howl at the moon, find your tribe kind of bullshit, wolf, but we do like wolves, so we'll accept. spicy. Fox. I'm ready. Do you want fox? That's your choice. You're going fox, fennec fox. We have also this smiley face. That's another good favorite. And then we have the rat boy ones that I showed on stream relatively recently. Perhaps you can make a poll, but like I like the rainbow taco best. Well, okay, you see, it's 35 going on 65 that redeemed the sticker. So I will allow him to do the picking, them to do the picking. No, I know your pronouns are he, him, I believe. But yeah, final answer. All right. Who is that guy in the show where they say final answer? Maury Povich? No, that's like the Jerry Springer guy. Regis Philbin. What does the fox say? Beep, 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 or whatever. Oh, right, facepalm. But, I'm so enthusiastic about sticker sticking, as I will explain the anecdote. Okay, so I'm not going to let you decide where to put it because I just don't know how you would even describe it. So I'm going to put it up here because it's actually quite a nice shape for this spot. So, just hold up. I'm gonna angle down so you guys can see the sticking. That's as far as it angles down. So that didn't help anybody. Stand by. Hats off to Jerry Springer. Yeah, he died. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Yeah, I remember watching that show. I was not very good at it. Guys, I might have issues with this. My nails are too long. Back. All right. This is the inaugural sticker sticking, 35 going on 65. This is a really special moment for everybody. We're gonna aim for it to kind of fill this kind of spot here. Okay. It's a little bit curved. Yup. Oh yeah. This is going well. Look. Oh, okay. That's nice. There he is. If you want to give him a name, I'll allow that. I'll refer to this fennec fox. I think it's a fennec fox, right? I think so. Anyways, the inaugural sticker sticking of the stream. I will tell the story of why Stick the Sticker is something in my life. So Carly was here and we decided to get tattoos one day because we had been saying for a while, for a couple of years at that point, I think, that our motto was Stick the Sticker because basically it's kind of like a seize the day, but like we had found a bunch of stickers that we had kept when we were kids because we were like, oh, gotta find the perfect place to stick them because you can only stick a sticker once. And then if you keep stickers too long, they lose their stickiness. So then we had a whole bunch, I think of even Blink-182 ones that we got when we went to see them in Las Vegas with Shannon, Nanners, 007 here. And they had lost their stickiness. So we didn't even get the joy of the sticking the sticker. And then we were like, you got to stick the sticker. You got to burn the candle. You got to open the special bottle of wine. Find your special occasion. What more special occasion than enjoying time with your friends or, spending time with yourself? Like, make your own occasion. Stick the sticker. So yeah, I have a tattoo that says Stick the Sticker that matches Carly's tattoo that says Stick the Sticker. And it's one of our friendship tattoos. And yeah, so that's the wholesome story of Stick the Sticker, and I'm glad to include you guys in the Stick the Sticker universe and journey. And stick your own stickers, Yeah. Just a little to the left, please. I love trivia. Don't let Skip over get involved though. He will win every time. I love trivia. Okay, and we're gonna have the Saturday stream. Crap, there's so many like admin things that I would normally rely upon Layla to do because Layla's just more responsible than me. We are going to have our Saturday stream that we decided to have as a for meeting our follower goal of 96, which was a couple weeks ago. So we're gonna have our Saturday stream on this Saturday the 6th, I believe we decided. Yeah, Saturday the 6th. So I think that's this coming Saturday. And yeah, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to play games and just kind of it's going to be a lot more informal. We might not even talk about science. What? No, we'll talk about science. There will be science in there, but we're going to play games. We might play trivia. We might play Jackbox. We might play GeoGuess, or we might play, I don't fucking know. If you guys have any sweet ideas, drop them in the Discord or suggest them here and allow me to forget them, or suggest them on Monday when Layla's back and she'll actually remember them. One of those two things. There's something rather satisfying about that. I hope you mean about sticking the sticker. That is indeed a Fennec Fox. I need to find a way to stick probably 150 stickers I have from different creators. Here's the other thing. Like, you don't have to stick them on stuff. I've been thinking about this recently because I was like, if I'm going to make a stick the sticker channel points redemption thing, I'm going to run out of space, because I know that people like Muse Clues, who have been around since the beginning, have like a bank of channel points. And, you know, I would like to encourage not all of them to be spent on making me sound Australian. But then I'm like, okay, could you not just have, like, we used to have sticker books. Why don't we bring that back? I think we should bring that back. An adult sticker book. Can you imagine? That could be like my Twitch channel merch or something. I don't know how I would make it. These are just ideas in my head and stuff like that. Gordox, hi, welcome. I'm Neuralicia. We're supposed to be talking about ADHD, but in a very meta way, we've barely touched on it and are now talking about stickers. So anyways, we will talk about ADHD. We've got several hours. Let's not worry about it. You're doing a Saturday stream. Woohoo. Yeah, it's going to be great. Friendship tattoos are rad. So Nanners, Carly and I actually all have, not matching tattoos. We just got them one day. So, maybe you guys can see this. Hold on. See this little caterpillar guy here? Carly drew that in her sketchbook, and then one day we were like, oh, let's go get tattoos. So I got that one. Carly got this like random jellyfish that's barely a jellyfish. It's just a circle with like 3 legs and a little movement line. And then Shannon got this like bird question mark thing from a shower curtain, like a graphic shower curtain that she had, because that's just the way that we are. So anyways, so how do we say stick the sticker in Latin to sound all official and sciencey? I love that idea. Ooh, stickus los sticeros, or I don't know. We should find out how to do that. That's worth writing down and, attempting to remember. I'm going to put it on a Post-it and I'm going to stick it on my computer. Sticker in Latin. That's a brilliant idea. I could put that on a sticker. How meta would that be? Oh, I like this. Oh, I love this so much. I have a twin tattoo. My twin brother has not Risto and I have not Skip, but our real names. When I saw that on your stream, I was like, that's amazing. That's hilarious. Because you guys are twins, right? So I'm about to plaster my bike helmet with a bunch of stickers, maybe doubles from science. That's a smart idea. I have a bike helmet that's completely mundane right now. Amazing, because yes, I'm going to need more places to stick stickers, but I would like to have a sticker book. I think that would be quite fun. Nanners is pro sticker book. We've been talking about ADHD while we've been experiencing ADHD, LOL. Neil, welcome back. Hey, hi, hello, how are you? Ooh, shiny syndrome. Yeah, exactly. Bird from an IKEA shower curtain. That is what it was. I forgot that it was an IKEA one. What? In Hiero in Obis, stick the sticker in Latin. What? You found it? You could just Google it? Is that like on Google Translate? You have to message me that so I don't forget it. I guess I could just look it up anyways, but thank you for doing that. That's really cool. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody in here. I appreciate my friends from real life being here, especially. It's kind of like breaking the fourth wall to me because I'm so used to most of the people being in here being people that I like don't know really actually. So it's like kind of like a little bit, I don't know. It's forcing some self-reflection. In true to ADHD fashion, we are on a tangent. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I guess this is bringing it back. I really like this. And in true to ADHD fashion, I have 2 incomplete sets of notes from 2 different locations because I was at the lab and I didn't have my stream notebook and I was listening to a couple of podcasts on ADHD and I wanted to take the notes. So I brought that home. And then I have my actual stream notebook here. So They're very disorganized notes. I will note that I do not have ADHD, or at least certainly I don't have it diagnosed. But as I was saying before, it's on a spectrum, right? So they're like all disorders or, symptoms within a disorder. There's a spectrum or a dimension even of those symptoms, right? So an easy one to conceptualize is depression, where if you look at the diagnostic criteria that are supposed to be categorical criteria, so either you have that criteria or you don't have that criteria, some of those are eating more than usual, or eating less than usual, which is like, those are the exact opposite things, but they're both criteria for diagnosis of major depression and lots of other disorders. But this is just an easy example. And you can think about that as something that's not just on a spectrum of eating a lot to eating a little, but the pattern in which you eat, right? So it becomes less of a linear thing and more of a dimensional thing. You can think of it in like a 3D sort of structure, right? So all of the things that we experience day to day as human beings, we experience on a spectrum, and they wax and wane throughout the day, right? Because we have natural fluctuations in our levels of focus and attention just in our lives. Frequently, you're pretty well focused when you have high arousal levels. So I say arousal in physiological terms, not in like relational terms, though they can coincide, of course. But when you're in a state of fear or high kind of activation, your attention tends to be a little bit more narrowly focused. So you have more like the tunnel vision, like through a telescope kind of thing, or not a telescope, microscope. Yeah, like specific. Anyways, and then there's other times where you're kind of drifting off, your mind is wandering, you're daydreaming. And it's not to say that one of those situations is more or less virtuous than the other. There's a tendency in popular, especially Western culture, to idealize focus as virtuous and lack of focus as whatever the opposite of virtuous, sinful, I guess. I don't know. That's very biblical. I don't love that. But keep in mind that is super, first of all, modern and very Western, and not true at all, right? Because lots of the people that we admire most in our society are creative people. And lots of the people that create things like fucking Twitch platforms and cool microphones with lights and stuff like that are creative people. And lots of these creative people are people that are not neurotypical, right? A lot of the people that created many, computer programs and stuff like that have dyslexia. They have ADHD, they have autism, and lots of these types of disorders that have attentional aspects as central to their diagnoses are things that sound bad or are conceptualized as bad and disordered or, maladaptive, but are only maladaptive if you're looking at them from one direction, right? So we'll get a little bit more into that. I don't want to get too behind on the chat. I am new diagnosed, which looking back, how did I get to this age without being diagnosed is hilarious. Well, you see, you can have peaks and valleys within your own ADHD. And as I was saying, maybe before you got here, you can grow into or grow out of it. And I mean, you know yourself better than anybody, but frequently, there's such thing as like adult onset ADHD. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's been lingering undiagnosed for years, though it might be, and you know your truth, I don't. But the world engenders ADHD-like tendencies in individuals, right? So it's not the most preposterous thing to think that might just be, a byproduct of, a tendency that, a seed that was planted and then, or a flame, a spark that was started and then the flame was fanned kind of thing. So, sorry to derail again, but I met some crows today. I was talking to them while I was at work today, and one of them brought me a quarter. You got a crow gift? I'm so jealous. I love crows. Oh my gosh. So Carly's father's place was, I moved in with them when I first moved out of my parents' house, and they have nesting crows in the park behind their house. And I used to get like dive bombed by these crows like every single day. And they would have like baby crows that would be up at the crack of dawn, and you could hear them like getting fed and just squawking all the time. But we love them, and they feed the crows, so they've got like crow familiars and stuff like that. So that's really cool. I was sitting on a tilt deck dump truck trailer, and he came and landed like 2 feet away from me, dropped the quarter on the deck, looked at me, squawked at me, and flew away. That's amazing. That's a blessing. So I left some of my sandwich nearby and put the quarter in me pocket, and now it will be my lucky quarter. Yes, I'm here for the sinning, not gonna lie. It was freaking awesome. Bring on the sinfully inspired dopamine. I haven't had a quarter for like 5 to 6 years. Yeah. I can't remember the last time that I like kept change, you know? Like when I travel, I do, especially like in Europe and stuff like that. Like I transact more in cash when I'm traveling, but not when I'm traveling here. You know what I mean? Anyways, I normally don't carry cash anywhere, so I can relate. I know I won't spend it because I don't use cash. Only here for sinful dopamine chasing. Muse clues is a mood. Same here. Diving grackles for last week. Yeah, grackles are corvidae, I believe, as well, right? So same family as crows, magpies, blue jays, cardinals, etc. I believe a grackle falls into that. Yeah. I have some cool token coin things. My friend who owns a brewery gives them out, and they're worth a beer. Sick. That's amazing. Like an arcade token, but for beer. That's sweet. Yeah, I haven't had beer in a long time, but I'm hoping I cut my bad tea, my weak tea with new tea that's been sitting. So I'm hoping that this is not as gross as the last one. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's cold now. Well, it's not cold. It's like lukewarm. But why lukewarm? I'd like to dive into why lukewarm. There's a whole bunch of like idioms and sayings that I'm like, why that? Like, why jet black? You know? I'm going to sneeze. Oh no. Guys, I'm going to sneeze. Achoo! I think that's the first time that I've sneezed on stream. Who's Luke and why is it warm? Why is Luke warm? Luke gets everything around here. I thought it was nukewarm. A nukewarm? I don't want things to be nukewarm. Because it's tight. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So we were talking about ADHD and kind of misconceptions about the spectrum of attention and the kind of categorical, you either have it or you don't kind of approach to ADHD, and the fact that you should be reticent to self-diagnose, or more, not reticent to self-diagnose, but reticent to pathologize, right? Because as I was kind of alluding to, there are things in ADHD individuals and tendencies that are more popular or more prevalent in people with ADHD that are highly desirable characteristics. And most of them come to things like creativity and stuff like that, it's creativity, mind wandering, expansiveness, adventurousness. I wrote down, here we go. Where is it? Hello? Am I losing my mind? Guys, I swear to God I wrote this down. Oh, yeah. It's on the first page. Okay, so there's like a couple of different categories of things that are particular to ADHD that kind of determine like the type of ADHD that you have in a way. And that's impulsivity, distractibility, and stimulation seeking are kind of like three primary dimensions of behavioral tendencies and thought tendencies that you can have in the ADHD world that you can see from one kind of direction, like the way that we're programmed to think about them. Like if you say, oh, so that person's impulsive, that sounds like a read, like that sounds like a diss, right? But realistically, the urge to act upon an impulse it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. That can be someone is really in tune with, what their intuition is. You know what I mean? It can be bad. Don't get me wrong. Impulsivity is like a characteristic that's, underlies a lot of pathologies, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a pathology, right? Following your gut and your intuition is something that we talked about in one of the episodes relatively recently. And I think that an aspect of that is to be aware of your impulses and to follow them when appropriate, right? So impulsivity can be a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing. Distractibility, again, on the surface, you're highly distractible. That's like the, ooh, something shiny kind of effect. But it's also, something where your mind can wander to places that it might not otherwise get to if you weren't highly distractible, right? Like, you could see how creativity would come from that sort of distractible kind of characteristic, right? Because you can imagine you're sitting there and you're thinking about like, oh, clouds, and oh, what if there was like, a monster that was made out of clouds, and oh, what if there was like a whole castle in the sky, and that sort of thing. And maybe that's how Miyazaki came up with his castle in the sky thing. Miyazaki? Murakami. I can't remember. I'm mixing up my Japanese last names. Whoops. Anyways, you could see where kind of spiraling down into like this thing leads to this thing, and having that like, the Charlie Day meme where he's got like the red string on the walls and he's like, ugh. Like having that sort of spiral can be a bad thing if you want to focus on one specific thing, but it can also be a good thing because it can lead you to places that you just otherwise wouldn't go to deliberately, right? Like you can't force creativity upon yourself. Creativity comes to you, right? So anyways, impulse sticking your hand in mocha or whipped cream. I mean, yeah. And maybe that's nice. Seize the moment, seize the day, seize the, like people do, maybe things that they wouldn't otherwise do. The first time that I decided to stream, I was in the bathtub having a bubble bath. And I was messaging my friend Shane, who used to do his own Twitch stream game thing. And he was like, what are you waiting for? Like, just fucking do it. Like, just go on and see what it's like and see if you like it. And I was just like, you know what? You're right. And I got out of the bathtub, out of my bubble bath, and like floofed myself back up. I was still like in full makeup. So I just kind of like, put my hair back up, put clothes back on. And that was my first stream. That was the one that Muse Clues was there for. That is when I decided to stream. And that was an impulse that I just followed. And I could have been like, no, I should be more careful. I should be more thoughtful, blah, 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 and, not do that. But I didn't. And here we are, right? And maybe I never would be here if I didn't follow that impulse, or touching shiny hot wells. Yeah, don't touch shiny hot things. But I mean, you should learn that in a Pavlovian fashion from a pretty young age. It took me like 5 or 6 times before I learned, Risto, what? How is that possible? Ouch, no touchy. Mocha is just a cold and a pain to wash off the hands. Stick the sticker. To begin streaming, Shane was right. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? He's right about a lot of things. He's a very bright man. Not just jump in and let Twitch chat sort it out for you. Yeah, more or less. That's kind of what I do anyway. I'm slow on occasion. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Well, here's the thing. I would say that maybe in that realm, no, but you also have a high emotional intelligence and, worldly in touch with things and that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? So everything is on a spectrum and not everybody can be everything all the time, right? There's all different types of intelligences and proficiencies and that sort of stuff. And, you might have low proficiency in don't touch hot thing, but you have high proficiency in support world and connection. So take the W, So the first two were impulsivity and distractibility. Um, and then the last one is stimulation seeking or sensation seeking or novelty preference, it could even be conceptualized as. And these are also characteristics that underlie a lot of things, particularly actually impulsivity and stimulation seeking are highly related to addiction, which is interesting because I think individuals with ADHD are 5 to 10 times more likely to develop an addiction. I don't know if that means that they're diagnosed as having the addiction, because I actually didn't read the primary literature myself, but they did say it in an interview with like a Harvard professor whose specialty is ADHD, who's written like something like 11 books on it. So I'm going to say highly informed source, but like I said, I didn't read the primary literature myself. And I think that that's really interesting that those characteristics tend to underlie the condition and they tend to underlie addiction as well. And that those two things are highly comorbid. And what we mean when we say comorbid is morbidity is, anything that affects your life while you're alive. Mortality is your aliveness. Morbidity is what's going on while you're experiencing your aliveness. So, morbidity can be related to heart disease and, physical things, physiological, anatomical things, or it can be related to experiential things like your mental health. And I kind of just lost my train of thought. See, this is, and again, I do not have ADHD, but I naturally just kind of was like, spaced right out of my own conversation while I was in the middle of a fucking sentence. So just to normalize that, it happens to us all. I was talking about the characteristics underlying addiction and ADHD and how they're, similar, and the fact that individuals with ADHD are 5 to 10 times more likely to experience addiction. And I would be curious to see if it is something that can be modeled preclinically. I doubt that there's a preclinical model of ADHD. You could probably put mice or rats on a spectrum of how good their attention is and stuff like that, and characterize them as high or low attention, and then allow them access to drugs that would typically treat that. But the reason that I find it interesting, the comorbidity with addiction and ADHD, is that the way that we treat ADHD, like with medication, is to give dopamine agonists, is what we call these. So it's amphetamine, right? We just give them one type of amphetamine: Ritalin, Adderall, methylphenidate, Vyvanse and Concerta, and all of these trade names and actual pharmaceutical names are basically all just types of amphetamine. Methamphetamine, very closely related to that. Dextramphetamine, I believe it's called. Anyways, they're all very, very structurally similar in terms of their chemical structure, and they act virtually in the exact same way. And very similarly to how cocaine works. So it's primarily working on your dopamine. So cocaine works to block dopamine transporters. So dopamine transporter is basically what cleans dopamine out of your neuronal synapse. So your synapse is where one neuron connects to the other and where a whole bunch of soupy stuff is happening. So typically dopamine being released into the synapse is highly rewarding, and that's what causes you to experience a lot of the effective components of any psychoactive substance, especially the addictive ones. And the way that it does that is through, depending on the drug, through various different ways. But cocaine blocks dopamine transporter that usually clears things out of the synapse to keep things in balance. So it blocks that, so then dopamine hangs out in the synapse for longer. And what amphetamines, most of the amphetamines do, meth and Adderall and Ritalin and all those sorts of things, actually reverse dopamine transporter, we think. So basically, instead of taking dopamine out of the synapse and putting it back into the cell to be released at a different time, it's like, oh, we're actually going to take dopamine from inside of the cell and put it into the synapse. So that's how that acts. But either way, both of these work on dopamine, and we know that dopamine is super highly correlated to addictive behaviors because it's the primary transmitter involved in reward processes. So you can see how having ADHD and, say, being medicated with a dopaminergic drug as a child as a mechanism to treat this could what we call sensitize your system. So giving a specific anything to your body will sensitize it to that thing, presumably. It can also habituate, but let's just put a pin in that for a second. Typically what happens is it sensitizes. So this means that your body is like, whoa, way more dopamine than I'm used to. I gotta like figure some stuff out and like, you know, put a whole bunch more receptors to deal with this, or upregulate the enzymatic clearing of this, you know, whatever it is, depending on the specific drug. Your body is always trying to activate these compensatory mechanisms. So in the case of dopamine, activating drugs like the amphetamines that are used to treat ADHD in children and in adults, it activates this dopaminergic circuit, and it makes it so that dopaminergic circuit is more sensitive, right? And if you do that from when, say, I don't know, a kid is 7 to 17 for 10 fucking years, and then the kid is also being offered drugs at parties, those drugs are going to work way better. The drugs are good. They're going into a system that's already like, yes, like we know what's up here. You know, the kids offered cocaine, and their system that processes those sorts of things is like juiced about that more than the average person would necessarily be. So you could see how they would be coincidental, not just because the underlying symptomatology of impulsivity, etc., at baseline are the same symptomatologies between the two disorders, but that one necessarily engenders the other. And the other situation that you can run into is undiagnosed individuals with ADHD that's undiagnosed frequently will self-medicate by seeking out those sorts of drugs and using them in a greater proportion or with greater frequency than individuals that don't then downstream have ADHD. Of course, I would take these types of data with a grain of salt, because you could see how it would be self-confounding and how you couldn't really have a super controlled version of this if you're asking people to report that are now diagnosed with ADHD to retrospectively look with their memory at how much drug use they were using now knowing that they are diagnosed, right? And you wouldn't be able to necessarily pick undiagnosed people that you know will then downstream be diagnosed, right? You can't, if we knew how to do that, then that would also be diagnosing them, right? So those types of studies are really hard to do, and it's hard to kind of like disentangle the chicken from the egg, as is the case with most mental disorders. But I do find it really interesting that, you know, it's something that's highly comorbid with addiction, but we also give them things that's going to make it way harder to not become addicted to stuff, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to touch the hot thing? Well, if you're asking me, 0. Burn pain is one of the worst pains in the world. If you're asking Risto, I don't know, could be any number. One of my fave singers, Bahamas, is from Toronto, sings about how we can't be everything to everyone. I think I know Bahamas. I think I have some Bahamas songs on my phone that I like. Do they sing a cover of the I'd Go the Whole Wide World song? I think they do. And I think it's good. I think it's good. I think y'all should listen to it. Okay, have you heard this stuff about ADHD folks in high stress situations are a good thing because it engages the focus or fight flight? Anecdotally, I think I've heard that, but I don't know about data wise. I could see how that could be a thing, and I will talk about what we think the mechanism under, like the neural mechanism of ADHD is. This is a great segue, so thank you very much, Nanners, to talk specifically about what it is that's happening in your brain that is different in ADHD individuals to neurotypical individuals. And I think it will relate to that. So remind me to circle back to that if I don't remember, which I probably won't, once I talk about that. So But you're the one who said it was on a sliding scale. So, I mean, don't do meth unless it's medical grade. ADHD and memory is fucky. And also caffeine is the sort of thing that works similar to ADHD meds. Sort of. Absolutely it is. It's a stimulant. 100%. You are 100% like on that. The well touches were like 3. When I learned the lesson of riding a bike with pants and sticking my leg to the exhaust, that was definitely a solid 8. Yeah, I've seen people burn their leg on bike exhaust before. And like when I was a kid, I saw, like seeing it was painful, and I couldn't imagine experiencing that. Not initially, but after the initial shock wore off, it sucked hard. I can imagine. Burn pain is one of the worst types of pain out there. 5 sure. So let's talk specifically about what is going on in the brains of people with ADHD versus neurotypicals. So we've talked a little bit in, I think, like the consciousness episode or maybe the memory episode, way back. It's like maybe a month or 2 ago kind of thing, about the default mode network. So what the default mode network is in your brain, your brain's never off. Even if you're just sitting there doing jack shit, your brain's never like not activity, right? It's always got activity somewhere. And typically, there's certain areas of your brain that will be active when you're not engaged in any sort of cognitive or physiological thing that requires subconscious cognition, right? So basically, they put people in MRI machines and an MRI scanner, and they tell them, just let your mind wander. And what they did is they've done this a bunch of times, and they found that this certain network of places in your brain, typically parts at the back, and it doesn't really matter, but there's a specific network signature that you can identify called the default mode network. And that's kind of indicative of the brain being at rest. This is frequently what's going to be the case when you're just, spacing out, basically, right? When people say like, oh, what are you thinking about? And you're like, oh, nothing. That's when your default mode network is on. There's also something called your task/memory network, depending on what paper you're reading and what area of research you're talking about. There's different nomenclature, but really, my girl, she lays down and makes like such a big fuss about it. She's like, oh. Anyways, can you not do that on camera, please? Thank you. She's just going to town. Anyways, so your default mode network is what's going on in the background when you're not engaged in stuff. And then there's another network that's active, usually your frontal network, when you're in actual effortful or focused thought, right? And typically, these are not active at the same time in neurotypical individuals. So if one's off, they have an inverse relationship. So as the default mode network is higher active, the task mode is lower active, and vice versa, right? So that's good because they're not in competition with each other. You can imagine how difficult it would be to focus and do a task or use your memory if your mind wandering part of your brain was also like, hey, what's up in the background. That's exactly what's happening in ADHD. They're on simultaneously. So this would be like trying to listen to the radio and watch a TV show at the same time. So usually we would turn one down and turn the volume up on the other one, right? So that you can focus on one thing. This is kind of like the same idea of, people turn down the volume in their car when they're trying to like find a road or like orient themselves. That's because less stimuli makes it easier to focus. But basically their mind wandering part of their brain just doesn't turn off when it's supposed to. And to varying degrees, like things come in waves, and we get waves of attentional, focus and abilities that wax and wane in every individual to varying degrees based on what you've eaten that day and, the nutritional composition of what you ate and, if you've had caffeine or cocaine or, a sleeping pill, or all of these various things influence it in myriad ways. However, there are ways to augment this and to turn various things on and off. Predominantly, your default mode network is, we think, driven. Of course, your brain is infinitely connected. So this is a gross oversimplification that I'm about to say, but I think it's useful in terms of understanding. There's a part of your brain called the insula. And the insula is really interesting because it's responsible for kind of like self-cognition, self-awareness. They think that it might be one of the areas that's related to consciousness. And it's also the area that's related to, interestingly enough, to the emotional and affective component of pain, which I just know because that's what I'm researching currently. But it's also an area that is connected to the default mode network in a way that it can modulate that. So if you can activate your insular cortex, which like there's not a switch for it, there's not medication that can only go there. If you take medication orally, remember it goes everywhere. You don't take medication that will only go to the one part of your brain that's broken. It's going to do all kinds of stuff. That's why we get side effects, right? So, but if you could selectively activate your insular cortex, that would then be like, ooh, okay. And it would turn the volume down on the default mode network, your mind wandering part of your, brain activity. Then theoretically, you would be able to allow the task and memory part of your brain to be more effective when it is engaged. Because it's not that that part of the brain does not get engaged in individuals with ADHD. Indeed, we know probably from lots of your experiences that individuals with ADHD can be highly hyper-focused on things that they're interested in or that their attention is directed to and is, focused on at that particular time. And sometimes that can be really maladaptive because, you can rabbit hole down a specific thing and, you started cleaning your bedroom and now you're stacking all your Post-its perfectly in order. And you're like, I should organize every piece of paper in the apartment rather than you're just trying to clean your fucking desk, right? That's just stuff I've heard anecdotally. I have experienced that, but not to a pathological degree. So in any event, the task network can be active. It's just that the default mode network, the mind wandering part of the brain activity, is drowning that out and making it hard for that task memory activation to be effective. So if you can figure out how to turn that down, that would be great, right? And the way that you can turn that down is by activating the insular cortex. How do you activate the insular cortex, you ask? Well, there are 3 ways that this Harvard expert, I can't remember his name, I meant to write it down and then I didn't. I think it's some like straightforward name like Johnson, something like that, Something that might mean dick to some people. Johnson? You think I'll remember? Nah, bud, but talk science to me. I'll remember randomly in the shower 4 years from now. I mean, if that's not on topic, I don't know what is. Is all those modes related to brainwaves? Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, brainwaves are something that I would be reticent, reluctant to like super get into for the purposes of this conversation, just because I don't know that science in general and neuroscience in general knows enough about different brainwaves beyond correlational things to really have it inform the discussion in a way that's meaningful, especially if it's not meaningful to me, a neuroscientist with a capital N, then I don't know how meaningful it would be if I were to translate that to you people. Do you know what I mean? But certainly, yeah, different activity levels and wave states in your brain would be related to these things. But to what degree that's meaningful, I don't know. It might be something worth looking at, but I certainly don't know how that would be related off the top of my head. Okay, so at 12, when I was reading a book, listening to an audiobook, which was a thing I did, 2 tasks make focus. Well, were you reading the same book? Like, were you reading along with the audiobook? Because that's a thing. That's for sure a thing. That actually is a highly effective way to entrain focus, is to use multimodal ways of getting you to focus. So this is, we talked a lot about like Pavlovian associations and stuff like that, being able to, actually, we talked about this just last time, and I'm so glad that we did. Nope, Jurassic Park and Babysitter's Club. It sounds like quite the combo. That would be, can you imagine popping like Dawn from Babysitter's Club, who was my favorite, by the way, Dawn and Christy just popping them in Jurassic Park, and they'd be like, oh no, we forgot the Jell-O squares, I think that would be really funny. I unlocked a memory recently about like the Pony Club books. Whoa. Yeah, your horse girl here read a lot of those. And like Thoroughbred Club, I think it was called. Anyways, I could see that being really entertaining. But anyways, this multimodal input is one of the ways that you can kind of harness focus for yourself, regardless of your status as ADHD or neurotypical. Is there's something called state dependent memory. So if you're studying and stuff like that and you get in the same environment is ideal. So if you can study in the same place you're about to take a test, or, you know, wear things that are like clothes or smells or anything that you can make that's the same, there's something called state dependent memory that is super effective. So yeah. If you're ever studying or want to remember something, keeping as much stuff the same as possible is definitely going to help. Those are Pavlovian cues that are just going to activate certain parts of your brain in the same patterns, because your brain likes to do the same thing. Your brain loves familiarity. I can't get enough of that emote. Like, I know it's unoriginal and everybody, you know, loves using it for everything, and I probably overuse it, but you know what? I don't even give a fuck at all. It's so good. It's so funny. Just like and if you guys haven't seen that movie, it's so good. The Unbearable Weight of Incredible Talent, something like that. All that matters is you like it. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not hurting anybody else. That's basically the mantra for life. If you like it and it doesn't hurt anybody else, more power to you. Go on, live. So, you know, people talk about binaural beats and study music and that sort of stuff. And binaural beats has like a little bit of science to it, as we talked about in the music episode. But what's more important is using these things to cue your brain to do certain things in a routine fashion. So people talk about sleep hygiene. So temperature adjustment, having a bath or a shower for like tactile stimulation and temperature regulation as well. Certain music, certain lighting, time of day, all of that sort of stuff becomes a really powerful synergistic kind of routine that's just a compendium basically of Pavlovian cues that your body is being like shouted from every different direction. It's fucking bedtime. And you can use that same principle, you know, that just triggers your brain to release melatonin. It triggers your body to relax and maybe, you know, downregulate, activity of like stress hormones and stuff like that. It's probably a whole bunch of different things. But if you wanted to increase focus, you know, adjusting posture, adjusting breathing, you know, all of those sorts of things, and just like creating an environment that happens to be the environment that you are in when you focus, or, you know, when you're in the zone, even if you're hyper focusing on something, if you can do it in the same place or in the same headspace or listening to the same music, anything that you can keep the same will help you harness those states later on, right? So that your brain is like, oh, we're sitting in front of the computer with the lights on and this, you know, thing, and we've got our notebooks open. Okay, we're in streaming mode. So maybe my brain is better at being, you know, flexible and adaptive, and maybe I'm in better like explanation mode. This is just anecdotally, you know, me kind of saying stuff. There's no data to suggest this. People don't study me, though maybe they should. Maybe they should. I'm just kind of using that as like a salient example, right? Because there's a whole bunch of cues present that, you know, will help either facilitate a state. If I were to try to sleep with all of this shit right now in a bed that's not my bed, you know, I would probably have a lot more difficulty, right? Because I'd be fighting a whole bunch of cues that are activating a different kind of headspace and familiarity than what I'm used to. So we talked about activating the insular cortex as a mechanism by which to turn down your default mode network, your mind-wandering network. And one way that you can do that is by what's called interoception. So intero is internal. So interoceptive versus exteroceptive means come from within the body or within the mind, versus coming from external sources. So things like an exteroceptive cue for that would activate, say, hunger, maybe, would be the McDonald's logo. You know, you see the McDonald's logo and your body's like, your girl could go for a cheeseburger right now. An interoceptive cue that might yield the same thing would be ghrelin activity being higher in your body, in your stomach, and your stomach growling and you feeling the internal state of hunger. You know, both leading to the same thing, but interoceptive within, internal, exteroceptive, external source, right? So interoception itself is the perception of your interoceptive state. So this is basically self-awareness. If we're going to take all of that jargon out of here, it's self-awareness, it's self-reflection, it's, you guessed it, mindfulness. It's mindfulness, it's meditation, it's internal reflection states, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to be something that's formal, but self-focusing and internalizing and focusing on those sorts of things necessarily activates the insular cortex. And the activation of the insular cortex deactivates or downregulates the activity of the default mode network. Those are just intrinsically linked things that basically can't, unless you ablate that part of the brain or have some sort of damage, and even then you could probably still circumnavigate it. Those are things that just happen. You don't have to try for them to happen. You can just make them happen. And this is why people that meditate, if they put them in scanners, like high ability meditators, if you put them in an MRI scanner, their default mode network is substantially lower, if not almost gone. In a remarkable fashion, right? So routine is hard to create. Routine is hard to create, but also difficult to stop too. I had a minor crisis when I switched jobs because I was in the same routine for the last 6 years. I feel that I swapped years ago from a job I was at for 17 years, wanted to lay on my face and just panic for a bit. You guys are both absolutely right. Momentum is powerful, right? And I talked about debunking the, it takes 21 days to start a habit thing. Just not true. It's basically, it compounds, right? A routine is facilitated by other things in the routine. So if you're going to try to work out first thing in the morning, a very frequent goal for some people to have, a habit that people would like to ingrain, they'd like to start working out before they go to work in the morning or something, right? You can imagine how that would be really hard to instigate in your routine if you're someone that likes to sleep in and press the snooze button 8 times, and you're someone that doesn't like to work out to begin with, and you don't have a gym anywhere near you, so you have to go far. Like, all of those things are friction against getting to that habit, getting that into your routine. But you can see how it would be hard to stop doing that if you were, the type of person that was already going to the gym, or you had a rock solid morning routine that you always do. You always wake up and you have your cup of coffee, and you sit and read the newspaper, right? Maybe you do that. You get your cup of coffee, you read the newspaper, and you bring it to your treadmill. And that's assuming a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just using this for easy examples, but I've talked about this before and Sean clipped it, but that's like lubricating your way rather than creating friction and boundaries towards integration of something into your routine. That's basically lubricating your way to it, right? Because it's just a funny clip. I watched it the other day. You're utilizing things that are already part of your routine, and that's really hard to stop, right? So if you can kind of coattail things onto a routine that you already have, it's difficult, as Risto is saying, that it's difficult to stop doing that once you've integrated things into your routine. And if you coattail off of existing routines, it's borderline impossible to fail at, right? And I think it's super easy for us to get this kind of thought process where things are difficult, and remove that kind of thing, that kind of prophecy from our mind, right? So you're so much more capable than you ever imagine. All of us are. Oof, 17 years is definitely no small amount of time. It was nice once you got readjusted though, yet again. So I wish I could sleep in, but I'm up by 7:30, 8 a.m. every weekend. Yeah, and I mean, embrace that. Like, you know, maybe sleeping in, if you really wanted to, you could, right? But you don't, and maybe that's cool. Means that you get to have coffee talks and stuff, right? I'm up no later than 6 a.m. for work, so my body gets in a routine and can't sleep in. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to break out of that routine. It's hard to stop that. Your body wants routine. Your body wants familiarity. Familiarity is safety, right? Starbucks to a law office. It was hard shift, but it's been 2 years. It's good. Definitely get the most out of my days. Yeah, you see, when like, especially when I have a migraine, like today, and I slept for like 4 hours trying to get rid of it. Right after I woke up too, like I was up for like maybe an hour and a half, and I was like, I'm gonna die. And then, I woke up again at 4 p.m. and I'm like, this sucks. Like I pissed away my day, and it was a beautiful day, which is probably why I had a migraine. Because we've gone from like rain, 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 rain to a beautiful day. So big barometric pressure change. Anyways, yeah, that's the state of affairs. So we've talked about the insular cortex and how you can activate it through interoception. And one of the ways that you can interocept is to be mindful. So this is basically deliberately trying to be aware of your internal state, or to just engage in disengagement. I know that that's kind of like oxymoronic, but to basically try and focusing as many things as much of your field of view as possible. So you don't need to go like meditation. You can just go, okay, try and notice broadly as much as you can. So rest in a state of open awareness. So you don't need to go and be like on cloud nine or transcendental or anything like that. You can just be like, okay, I'm going to try and see as much of the peripheral part of my vision as possible. And, open yourself up to all of the things, basically untunnel your vision, and that can activate the ability to focus almost immediately for a lot of people. And especially with practice, doing that makes it so that you're able to focus more when the time comes that you're fighting maybe upstream a little bit to harness that focus, right? So, oh, hey, Epic. Welcome back. Renting. Ooh, I love mindfulness. Yeah, me too. I'm a recent convert. I used to be the type of person that scoffed and was like, I get it. I know mindfulness is super helpful, but it's difficult. It is not easy. Even for neurotypical individuals or people that don't have attentional related disorders, it is difficult to begin with. But things get easier with practice, right? That's kind of the nature of existence. Like no one's good at everything when they first start. And here's the other thing, you don't need to be good at meditation, right? You don't need to be good at being mindful, but just the very act of noticing that you're not being mindful is mindful, right? So if you're the type of person that's like, oh, I have so much trouble, like I always notice myself, my mind wandering. I notice my head getting off track all the time. Just the fact that you notice that is in and of itself mindful. So frequently we're doing this without even trying, and your brain is actually, engendering that sort of thing. And you just really need to allow that in a lot of cases. And I think, people tend to conceptualize mindfulness, meditation, and those types of things as something that's very like egocentric and, just, fluffy and effortful and requires a whole theory of mind that's very esoteric and, like hippie and stuff like that. But no. Frequently, people are actively in mindfulness. They're just not calling it that, right? When people talk about flow states or being in the zone or, any of those sorts of things in like sports and shit like that, like bros that are like, oh yeah, I never practice mindfulness, but when I get out there on the ice, yeah, I'm like super good. I'm in the zone, man. Yeah, you're having mindfulness, bro. You're having like, that's just the way that it is. And the more that you notice it and the more that you're able to harness those states and acknowledge them, the more you can deliberately engage them. And I think that that's the difference. It's not that we're all just walking around not doing mindfulness if we're not doing it on purpose. We're doing mindfulness all the time. We're just doing it at whim, kind of thing. So if you can figure out how to, or what times you just naturally do that, if you notice that certain times your mind is wandering and you're not in a state of hyper focus, especially for individuals with ADHD, when you get that kind of soft ease sort of situation happening, and you can notice that and be engaged with that and see, okay, oh, it's when I'm at home with my dog and I'm petting them and I'm getting tactile stimulation or whatever. Or it's when I'm listening to music and it's like, electronic music, electric music. Then you can use that. You can use those Pavlovian cues to then be the things that set the stage for when you need to focus, right? So I think the other part of that that's really useful is if you can notice when you're engaged in mindfulness, you can notice when you're focused and you can control it. Another thing that's really helpful for a lot of disorders, and especially the distress that's related to these disorders, which is the distress is what makes them pathologies. Otherwise, they're just behavioral tendencies, right? If they don't cause you distress, that's just happens to be the way that you act, right? But if you, one thing that's related to a lot of pathologies, ADHD included, is negative emotional experiences, and the accumulation of negative emotional experiences are highly related, they think, to the genesis of things like ADHD, autism, like all of the things, the environmental impact of a lot of these genetic and environmental conditions, is negative experiences as you're, going through life, whether it's as a child or as an adult. Those environmental influences, those negative emotional experiences are something that you can accumulate, especially if you don't process them. And one way to process them, of course, is go to therapy, talk to people, and work through them. And that's fine and dandy, but you can't do that if you're not self-aware. So it kind of all circles back to being more aware of your internal state and, state of mind, state of body, state of all of these things, so that you can curate when you activate different aspects of it, right? So the best way to combat those negative experiences that accumulate, that are contributing to the ongoing intensity of mental disorders, ADHD included, but a lot of other ones too, is to internalize positive experiences. So this is basically the internalization of positive emotional experiences is gratitude, right? And deliberate and internalized gratitude, specifically focusing on how a positive experience makes you feel. And the only way that you're able to do that is if you're able to tune in and recognize your body as being either tense or not tense, or your, feelings of ease and lightness and that sort of thing, and recognizing the differences between those things, which sounds at the surface like, oh, how would you not notice that? But for a lot of people that are not in tune with themselves, especially if you've gone through some particularly unsavory things throughout your life, which many people that are not neurotypical have, those are things that you don't want to attend to. Your brain parcelates them off on purpose as a survival mechanism, because recalling those things sucks. And your brain will go to great lengths to make it so that you don't recall repressed things. That's why we have repressed trauma, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it would be great if we could all go to therapy and talk it out and get that all cleared out of your brain. But another way to process those things in a less direct, less painful, less difficult, and less potentially activating and harmful way, because a lot of people, when you access those memories, it can be very triggering. And if you're not doing that with an experienced professional, it can be very dangerous, right? But one way that you can do it that doesn't rely on going back and accessing those things is to internalize positive experiences. And the only way that you can internalize those things is if you recognize what goes on in your body just at any given time. So engaging the mindfulness that you already do and just noticing like, hey, okay, right now I'm feeling pretty like jazzy and loosey goosey and like, maybe I'm a little bit like tight here because I'm feeling like forceful in my words and stuff like that, but I'm not like, anxious or nervous or like, holding my body those certain ways. And the only way that I've learned those things is by just being aware in the moment. And you can be doing this right now just by being like, okay, yeah, how am I sitting? Is she making me think like, And, when I'm in like deep thought that makes me stressed or whatever, or am I distracted? And just bringing yourself into that awareness is already going to be helpful. And then when you're experiencing something positive, a positive emotional experience, and you can be like, okay, and just take a beat, just 1 second, and just even that small amount of time. Obviously, it's better if you do it for longer, but even a small amount of time of just internalizing that positive experience can be a way to offload the negative emotional experience without having to directly talk about it. I'm not saying that it is a replacement for dealing with things in therapy formally. You should do this. You should do things. This isn't a treatment for this. This is a tool that you can use to help modulate, your day-to-day experience with whatever your, neural reality is, I guess. So, yeah. Whew. Guys, sorry, I'm behind. I went on a diatribe. I'm not sorry. That's just who I am. I hope it was helpful. What am I feeling? Where is that coming from? Where do I feel it? Yes. Name things. Colors are so helpful for me. Like, it sounds really like hokey and stuff like that to a lot of people, but talking about the color and the shape and the texture of feelings, like when I'm feeling, sometimes I won't be able to actually put a label to it. It's kind of like anxiety, but it's more fearful than that. And it's got aspects of, wanting to shut down to it. I'll be like, okay, that feels kind of like a pokey blue blah thing, and it's cold to the touch or whatever. And that sometimes will help me externalize the feelings, which I know is kind of the opposite of what I was just saying. This is a tool that I work on with a mental health professional previously, right? But naming things and just things can't be right or wrong. Emotions aren't right or wrong, and you can have as many as you want. This is a saying that my dad says. He's like, you can have as many feelings as you want. They're free. So feel whatever you want to feel. That's kind of related. I just like it when my dad says that. I think it's sweet. Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm so behind. And now I lost my spot. If mindfulness is a solution, how turn off brain noise to be mindful? Mindfulness is not meditation. Mindfulness is just being in the present moment, focusing on things in the moment, a flower, a bird, a mountain, etc. True, but they're related. I would say for the purposes of this conversation that one could use them relatively interchangeably, especially because you require mindfulness for meditation. That they're, not one and the same, but, especially for people that find it difficult. Like I am hesitant to be gatekeepy about what meditation is and isn't to an individual. And there might be like a dictionary version of it and a canonical kind of edition of things. But, sometimes I feel meditative when I just stroke Hoon's ears and I'm in the zone. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I do breathing exercises with my 4th graders and tell them we practice these now so that when we are in a time of stress or pressure, we can remember easier to do these things. That's really amazing. That's a great thing. And I don't think that, you should make it any more complex for 4th graders or 40-year-olds or anything. Same neuro, but once I got focused and stopped being self-conscious about it, once I did, though, it made a huge difference in my life. Sometimes I catch myself, okay, self, you're spiraling a bit and losing yourself in thought. Let's be intentional for a bit. You're speaking my story too. I love that we have a surfer bro voice with hockey. If you guys have ever met a hockey bro, like I'm from a northern Alberta town. with a whole bunch of hockey bros, and that is what they sound like. That electronic music the kids listen to nowadays. It's about figuring out what brain noise is necessary for that moment, being conscious on where your thoughts go, and determining what you're focusing on doesn't serve you. Past thoughts, future thoughts shouldn't take the majority of your processing power. Focusing on the present to build towards future is what the goal is, right? Fair. Skills I'm not well versed in. I mean, here's the thing. It's one of those things where like I bet you're more skilled than you think, you know? Like, because you crochet. Nanner's crochet is amazing stuff. She crocheted me this amazing like shawl thing. I should dig it out. But actually I don't have to dig it out. I know exactly where it is. But I bet you in that, like, you have to be somewhat focused, or maybe even unfocused. Maybe that's when you're in your flow state and when your default mode network is actually activated inversely with your task mode, right? So take some time and practice. You'll be able to accomplish. I started slowly and started with clearing negative past thoughts, i.e. talking down to myself, listening to past conditioning and other things. Meditation brought me to the idea of mindfulness. In my perspective, mindfulness can be more broad. Very much related, but it helped me to be more mindful once realizing that I'm not meditating. Yeah, okay, that's true. And that can be really useful. Then once learning to be mindful helped me to do better in my meditations. Hello, Dougielicious. Hello, welcome. Guys, Dougielicious is in Scotland right now. Can we all just like recognize this for a second? The man's in Scotland. I think that's an Irish accent. Sorry. Yeah. Look at Maud Risto. Hey. Yeah, I know. I was alone, and I had so many tech issues at the beginning of the stream. My mic wasn't working. I don't know what the fuck happened there. I had to delete it and re-add it. So that was a nightmare. And then I was trying to shout out science, and I was doing it all kinds of wrong. And then I just was like, I need mod help for things. Yeah, crochet and podcast is how it goes. What? Have a scotch for me, friend? Yeah, that was a Scottish accent. You did good. Thank you. I don't know. I'm halfway decent at an Irish accent. A little bit decent at an Irish accent. Probably because I've been there several times. Times. That's how they talk. Times. I'm gonna go down to I'm at my friend's gaff. Yeah. Anyways, I probably couldn't do like a Cork accent, but I could definitely do just like a generic Irish accent. Anyways, I do come back to various guided meditations in YouTube or what have you. I mean, here's the thing, like, I really don't think that either of these definitions are incredibly formalized. And I think that probably the point that I would want to drive home is for Risto, it seems like calling it meditation was not useful, right? So it helped him be more mindful once realizing that he wasn't meditating. And, call it whatever the fuck you want to call it, call it like being in your brain zone, call it like got my bean on, like, I don't know, call it whatever you want. No, the meditation police are not going to come for you. The mindfulness police are not going to come for you. Call it whatever makes it adaptive and happy, or not even happy, whatever just makes it work for you, like, yeah. I do a killer stitch. Damn, words are hard. A variety of accents without redeeming a single channel point. It's my lucky day. Listen, I'm thinking about making it just an accent instead of G'day mate, because it's so much pressure to do the Australian one specifically. But I also, want to make sure that I'm not doing any sort of like offensive accents, right? So I'm like a little bit hesitant to do the Russian one. But you know what? My family lived in like Odessa, so really I could just say that it was like an Eastern European one rather than just Russian, and I would be using the accent of my ancestors, as I'm doing when I am doing a German accent too. So, right. Opening your third eye. Sup. It all depends on the individual. What works for one won't work for others. It's about figuring out what works for the individual. Yeah, let's get that third eye open, see some shit, feel some things, whatever works exactly. Are we talking about mindfulness or psychedelics? Well, here's the other thing. I'm going to do episodes for sure on different substances and stuff like that. As I've talked about, I want to do a series where I talk about different psychoactive drugs, and I will talk about psychedelics. And part of what they think psychedelics are doing, guess what, has to do with the default mode network. What? Basically, it sounds like that kind of gets turned up to 11, and that, a bunch of other kind of inhibitory controls get turned off, basically. So it's kind of just allowing that to run rampant in your brain. And the reason that a lot of people find even a single session of these sorts of things really transformative, they're like, oh, it was life-changing, bro. And it can be, realistically, because psychedelics, especially LSD and psilocybin being psychedelic mushrooms, they instigate a very potent, global, and enduring neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity basically is your brain's ability to remodel itself. And, we frequently talk about neuroplasticity being really high in young children, which is why young children can learn languages easier than when you're old. And the whole adage of not being able to teach an old dog new tricks, blah, 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 is kind of based in this kind of vaguely true statement. It's more that your brain is highly plastic throughout your lifetime, and it's extremely hyperplastic when you're young, rather than you aren't neuroplastic when you're older. You don't really lose it. You just had it a lot when you're a kid. But you can also increase neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to remodel itself, by having psychedelic drugs. So this is why they're using it therapeutically, but also, so you can imagine if you have this mind-wandering creativity network going fucking berserk, off the chain, while you also have highly suggestible brain state on, your brain is sponge mode, and you're having just the most creative, wild thoughts because of this drug, that would be potentially something that could be quite enduringly altering, right? But I guess we're getting a little bit off track. Katya and Vlad will live forever. I think it's funny that Vlad is Carly's cat's name, and that Katya is Katya too, because we chose those names, I think, before either of those things happened. Whoop, goodness, my phone about to die. Have a great night and kind night. Great and kind night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, Epic. Appreciate your input and stuff like that. And I hope you also have a great night. So what you're saying is LSD is good? ? I mean, everything should be done with the own individual in mind, and under appropriate supervision and in appropriate amounts. If it works, it works. I can't officially endorse any illegal drug, but I'm not the police. People use these things frequently, right? For their own kind of off-label uses, and now they're starting to be used in a medical setting. So, man, I did mushrooms once and they definitely made me work through some shit. Yeah. I mean, basically, if you're taking the shackles off of a lot of stuff in your brain, you can imagine where you would access some stuff and some creative flexibilities, neural flexibility that you wouldn't ordinarily get, just vibing at 3 a.m. in Scotland. Are you guys lit to shit? Or I'm surprised you guys are fucking awake. Say hi to Jasmine. Was either that or go down the rabbit hole that is my childhood. Jet lag is def a thing. Sounds like a wild time. Jet lag is gnarly. Oh yeah, I was also up for about 28 hours. Oh, so you guys have slept. That's good. Damn, Dougie, too bad I can't come and bring frying pan. Starting. Psychedelic therapy is slowly catching on down here in the States, mostly ketamine, but in a few states they're trying psilocybin. So here's the other thing that this kind of just reminded me of is the safety margin of certain drugs. So people talk about, so ketamine is a drug that they give children no problem. If you're like resetting a child's bone, if they broke a bone and you have to reset it, they're not going to anesthetize them with a, like a gaseous volatile thing like an isoflurane. They're not going to give them opioid sedation like morphine or anything like that. They give them ketamine. Why do they give them ketamine? Because it's super safe. Its effective dose is extremely low compared to its toxic dose, which basically means that the amount to get it to be effective for anesthetic purposes is like, fractional compared to the amount it would take to cause harm or death or toxicity. So you could, like, the margin of error basically is quite low. And funnily enough, the margin of error for other drugs that they give kids pretty frequently, aka ADHD medication, is also pretty safe. And I say safe in an acute toxicity and mortality related kind of way, not in the sense that they can't cause enduring harm by making it so that a whole bunch of different aspects of their lives are more or less difficult, or, like we were talking about the comorbidity with addictive things being potentially related to activating dopaminergic circuits exogenously throughout lifetime, that can cause harm. So they can be very dangerous in that way, and they can be very habit forming and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But in terms of how much it would take to cause acute toxicity or death versus how much it takes to actually be effective as a ADHD treatment, those things are light years away, much like the ketamine is for an anesthetic purpose, right? Which is why they're comfortable giving amphetamine to kids, even though that sounds, and it is kind of realistically, a bit fucking unhinged if you just take it at face value and you don't know about the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of these types of drugs. So it's also catching on here, right? I was so tired from being up that we just took an early night and now I'm awake. Yep, that'll do it. That'll do it. I had a K phase, but that's a little different. Yeah, I've never done it. I've never done it. I don't think it. Have I ever done it? I don't think I've ever done it. I know people that do that. I don't know. People are like, oh, it's like being drunk. And I'm like, if I want to be drunk, I'm going to drink something that tastes good. I don't want to put shit up my nose for that. But when you have a C-section, they give you fentanyl. Yeah, they gave me fentanyl when I had my surgery as well. Fentanyl it's effective. It's a very effective painkiller for acute pain like that. It's also very, it wears off pretty quick. Like its half-life is not super long, which is good. I had an old coworker who was originally taking LSD. They were extremely smart and very knowledgeable about things, and they seemed very neurodivergent to me when I worked with them. So maybe it was helping. I didn't spend time with them outside of work. Yeah, Leia, I don't know. If I'm being honest, I think it's one of those like chicken egg situations, right? Like, do people act more like, neurodivergent and stuff like that when they're, frequently using psychoactive substances, or are they using the psychoactive substances because they're neurodivergent? The reality of it is it's probably a bit of both. We talked a little bit earlier about ways to activate your insular cortex and to, downregulate the activity in the default mode network. One of them was the mindfulness / meditation. Another one is also medication, right? So anything that's going to turn that off will be helpful. I think LSD would probably, as I said, turn that on likely, so that probably wouldn't be very helpful in the short term. I doubt that you would be better at focusing while on LSD, so I would probably avoid that. But frequently people do experiment with these things because of that characteristic that we talked about before about stimulation seeking. So this doesn't mean stimulation like activity. This just means stimulation of, experience kind of thing. It's experience seeking, sensation seeking, experience seeking, novelty seeking. There's a whole bunch of different ways to conceptualize what's basically the same thing. There are nuances between those different pieces of nomenclature, but it's basically just science jargon that we only use for research purposes. But lots of people in the ADHD world are high sensation seeking and thus will end up doing those types of drugs because they are looking for a way to augment their reality, right? And it's not necessarily that it's like a self-medication every time. It's just that that's one of the characteristics that is part of the symptomatology or the characteristics, I should say. Maybe not the symptomatology in that case, but can we do a deep dive on why yawns are contagious? That actually would be pretty interesting. I don't know if I could do like a whole thing on it, but we could definitely remind me. I don't have my, I had too many tech issues. I'm not going to do it tonight, but definitely we should do that. I think about that. I think it's a Pavlovian cue is my best guess, but I also think everything's a fucking Pavlovian cue because they all are. And I did my behavioral diatribe last time. So LSD is a time having stood in a field yelling about dinosaurs. Anyways, yawns are contagious. Yeah, let's talk. LOL. I get too distracted by how pretty everything looks to bother yelling at anything. Yeah, I'm going to tell this story about the time that the only time I've ever done LSD. I've done mushrooms like recently-ish, never at huge doses though. I don't like to be disengaged from reality. I have no desire to do that. The grass was tall. Don't go into the long grass. Yeah, I mean, that's where the wild Pokemon hide. So sometimes you might want to go in there. So I was friends with this like group of people. I'm still friends with them actually. Who we would party pretty hard, and lots of them were like rock and roll kind of people, like, you know, doing all kinds of like hippie drugs and stuff like that, or hard drugs. And I was kind of one of my friends. I was kind of like, I guess, dating them at the time. We were like romantically involved, whatever. And that was fine. And they were taking LSD. They took a whole bunch of tabs of LSD. We were at a party and I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to drink. And, yeah. So that happened. But also when you're dating someone, you smooch them. And when you smooch people, you sometimes will exchange saliva. And if you don't know how you take LSD, generally you put it in a mucous membrane, typically under the tongue. So I'm pretty sure that I got a bit of it that way. But also we like went home that evening and had interactions, you know? And I woke up the next morning, and that's when I was like feeling pretty weird. Like it didn't hit me until like 8 hours after the party. And I'm pretty sure, you know, I think that I'm just going to let your imaginations take you to where I think that I got the LSD potentially from. But the next day I was like feeling like pretty groovy, and I did not deliberately take any psychoactive stuff. I think I actually stayed sober that night, or maybe had like 1 or 2 beers because I was driving after the party. So anyways, I woke up the next morning and I was like, you guys, and like I was like, I really wish that I was in Vancouver right now in Nanners. You'll remember when we were in Stanley Park in Vancouver when we were going to see Plus 44, I think it was, and the grass was like so soft. I was like going back to there and I was like, I wish that I could like transport you guys, and was like so stereotypically like hippie in my brain, but that was like, it was the morning. It was like hours after we'd all been asleep, so I wasn't taking anything. And I'm like, the only delayed onset that I could theorize would happen there would be if it were delivered via I'm just gonna leave that. Anyways, psychedelics scare me too, Dougie-licious, big time. Oh man, I lived with some friends who were massage therapists. Oh my god, I want a massage right now so bad. My back/hips hurt so bad, and it's not being helped by being in this chair right now. Fuck. Anyways, I took a journey with LSD. At one point, I had 3 people massaging me, and my other roommate was spinning some music. What a time. That actually sounds really nice. I kind of just want that anyway. You know what I really would like to be is just to be like queen of the world and have, like just several people to just, like right now, like if I just had someone like massaging my arm and like doing my nails and like fixing my cuticles and stuff like that, just like while I was doing other things that I actually want to do, that would be amazing. Bringing me tea, warming up my tea. Or you know what, I honestly would just like a life partner that would, be like, here, I'll give you a neck rub, sweetie. That'd be nice. But the only life partner I've got right now does not give very good massages, does she? She's ignoring me. Anyways. That sounds great. It was an amazing time. Interactions. I'm dead. So this is why you like tacos. Oh my God. Stanley Park. Yes. Connecting with the grass. Haha. It's called Afterglow, Neuro. That's Afterglow. What? No, I need more details. What do you mean Afterglow? What? Afterglow from interactions? You need to find yourself a bottom. Well, I've had some bottoms, but they're bratty. Also, I radiate top energy, but I'm also just a little, sometimes I'm a pillow princess. I'm not going to lie. What's Afterglow? Is that a thing? When I've told other people, they're like, no fucking way. That sounds stupid. And this is the only time I've had this experience even remotely validated. You guys, Afterglow? I gotta look this up. I'm looking it up. I'm not looking it up on stream. I'm having a small breakdown. I'm sorry. Afterglow? Afterglow. Drugs. What? No, that can't be it. Because I didn't take it to begin with. No, okay. I think you guys missed the part where I'm pretty sure that because I didn't have any psychoactive effects until the next morning. Right. So I don't think it was just by touching them. I think the exchange of fluids happened and that yeah. The interactions. I think the interactions were, yeah, shit isn't, etc. Yeah, no, I know. And like, we talk on Vulgar Science about things, so I don't know why I'm being so coded about it right now. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that when making out and interacting with ejaculate, that probably had latent LSD in it. Just, yeah. Well, you probably metabolized the amount that you got from your romantic partner. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say without saying it, but now I just said it. So in any event, I'm pretty sure that that's the only time that I've ever taken LSD. Actually, no, I know that's the only time that I've ever had LSD-like effects. And the only thing that makes sense to me is that I was dating / interacting with someone that was on LSD at the time. And oh man, it was so much fun. Honestly, that was some of like the funner times of my life because like it was with a whole bunch of people that played music and we would jam. And let me tell you, jamming, even just like while a little bit drunk, even while sober, jamming rules. Oh, I miss it. Then you went to sleep and woke up with Afterglow. Yep, might take some LSD soon. Freedom, hey. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I didn't feel high at all while during interaction. So maybe I was high while I was sleeping. But I think it was probably just the fact that like we went to sleep at like 3 or 4. Tato, thank you for the follow. I very much appreciate it. For anybody in here that's new, I'm Neuralicia. On Fridays, I talk about whatever the fuck I want. Usually a topic. Right now we're kind of talking about ADHD, but I was just talking about a time that I accidentally took LSD. On Mondays, I hang out with my friend Layla, who is also a colleague of mine, fellow PhD student. And we talk about spicy topics during what's called Vulgar Science. So we talk about any topics and the vulgar aspects of it and the normal aspects of it and chit chat. and interact with y'all. And that's what it's about. Tattoo you redeem stretch. That's great. Yeah, actually, ooh, that's nice. Yeah. All right. Should someone redeem puppy time? Pup break. Yeah. LSD, ADHD, same vibes. I fucking love you, LMAO. Yeah. So, you guys, I think I said earlier, Shannon's one of the people, Carly, Shannon, and I drove to Las Vegas to see Blink-182, and the car broke down in the middle of the desert. And then we took a bus to finish the rest of the trip. And we just had a great time. I definitely have told the story about when we went to see Blink-182 and then afterwards saw Travis Barker and DJ AM for the last time that they were together before DJ AM died. Yeah, we call ourselves the Tripod. Redeemed pup break. Thank you, Rista. Come here, puppy. Come here. She's like, please don't. Look at her. You guys see this? Look at her being such a bottom. Hi, baby. It's time for pup break. Come here. Come here. Come get your dolly. She knows what I'm gonna do, you guys. Come here. Come here. Ugh. Effort. Oh, pup break. Hi. Look at this girl. Oh my gosh. Do you have anything to say? What do you have to say? She licked it. You don't have anything to say? You're telling people that they're wonderful and we appreciate them, and that if they have an animal, they should pet them and sometimes feel how soft their little fur is. I would like to draw your attention to how pointy her little snoot is. Let's see. Oh yeah, see how pointy it is? She's cute. Oh, my girl. For those of you that don't know, this is Hoon. Hoon. Hoon the dog she is named after. I love you. Puppy. Look at this belly. Look at how big your belly is. Look at your long leggies. Okay, I'm putting her down now. Ugh, there you go, baby. Dog hair in my mouth. Yeah. Rub me belly, mama. She goes full bottom when she knows she's gonna get picked up. She goes and was like, oh, please don't, because she knows I won't pick her up like that way because it hurts her spine. I will always like scoop her. So if she goes on her back, she knows I can't scoop her, but then it always just ends up being this way. Do you want a little treat? Here, we'll give you a little treat. Yeah, what a oh, come here. Up. Look at how perky she is now. Look. Who's this for? Is this for you? Who's this for? Go over there. Go lay down. Can you guys see this? This is one of my favorite tricks that she does. No, go back up. Back up. Back up. Back up. Do you guys see that? She scoots back. Good girl. Come here. We'll do one more. I don't think they can see you. They can't see you. Do a twirl. She does a little twirl. She just does a little circle. Do a twist. No. She's jacked right now. All right, hold on. There you go. Okay, go lay down. Anyways, look at her flip-floppy ears. I know, she's so cute. I have a question. Is it possible to have a dependence on MJ? What's MJ? Can those symptoms mimic Mary Jane? Like drugs? Like pot? Is that what MJ is? Can those symptoms mimic ADHD, or can you have ADHD but then a dependence on MJ that either is ineffective or worsens ADHD symptoms? Marijuana. Okay, sorry. I just call the things. I don't know these street names. The Mary Jane. Okay. You can definitely, I'm gonna break this down. You can have a dependence on marijuana. 100% you can. Frequently, regular users do have a physiological and even psychological dependence on marijuana. can the symptoms of a marijuana dependence mimic ADHD? Or can they mimic ADHD? I would say potentially they could have a similar and overlapping symptomatology, in that if you are psychologically or physiologically dependent on a drug, especially one that tends to have not sedating effects but calming effects, that the agitation that you can feel in absence of that drug can be reminiscent of the same type of agitation and impulse towards activity and stuff like that tends to be part of the hyperactivity related aspects of ADHD. So I could see those two things being like mimics of each other, or maybe not even mimics, maybe just there's frequently overlap in a lot of different disorders and different states, right? We talk about this dimensionality to different symptomatology, and there's a small amount of symptoms that underlie, I think, 80% of the disorders in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. That's a big diagnostic book. Think about that. 10 symptoms that are common across 80% of the disorders in the book. That's insane, right? So you could see where they would share symptomatology in frequent cases. Or can you have ADHD but then have a dependence on marijuana that either is ineffective or worsens ADHD symptoms? I would say absolutely. So frequently people that have ADHD, especially undiagnosed, will kind of self-medicate. We talked a little bit about that. And one of the ways to do that, I would suspect, is to use marijuana. Now, marijuana is difficult to generalize about because, of course, THC versus CBD and all the other compounds that we don't talk about, because there's 150 and we talk about 2. Frequently in the general population talks about 2 of them, and in neuroscience only 2 of them are really even studied, right? And that's only very recent. So our understanding of how these things work in your brain is actually quite limited. But I would suspect that, much like many other psychoactive substances, that it would have activation or deactivation or, differential activation, I guess I could say, to be safe, of your default mode network, which we know is very highly implicated in ADHD. So yeah, I could definitely see it worsening it, or the normal effects that one individual would feel from marijuana ordinarily would be altered if you were experiencing ADHD unmedicated, especially. Hi, puppy. But no, I take LSD only for medical purposes to treat anxiety and depression. It's regulated per 6 months for a certain amount. Yeah, I started kind of like giving myself like super, super, super microdoses of psilocybin for a little bit a while back, and it was pretty good. My mood was definitely quite a bit better, and I'm aware of several people that are using ketamine actively right now to treat depression. So that's good. You'll be careful with it. Very dangerous drug. Most definitely take it in moderation. It really does help. Yeah. Drugs are drugs. I think that we should just like back up for a second and say, like, all of these things should be taken under medical supervision, ideally. I recognize that is unlikely to be the way that most people are taking, especially illegal drugs, because it's very hard to find a medical professional that will advise you to take them, because they would lose their license, right? So, in absence of explicit medical guidance, deep research, careful dosing, very careful supervision and environmental, controls when you're going to take these things. And remembering the cardinal rule of taking anything is you can always take more. you can't untake drugs that you just took. Even throwing them up, or if you're insufflating them, doing a sinus rinse, doing any of those things, you can't uninhale something. It's immediately gone into your bloodstream. There's very few things that you can do. Even if you were to barf up something that you ingested orally, it's probably already in your stomach lining. So you can maybe limit how much it will affect you, in an ongoing fashion, but, you can always take more. So start small if you're going to start at all, and work with someone that's experienced. Don't ever take drugs because people pressure you to. I know that that's so fucking straightforward, and that don't give in to peer pressure and stuff like that. But let me tell you, I know a person that would do drugs with their friends, and that person was quite a bit more petite than the people that were doing these drugs, and that person took too much drugs once and overdosed. So don't be like that person. Don't try and keep up with your friends, especially with dangerous drugs. Like, they're all dangerous, but you know the ones I'm talking about. Come on. Anyways, look at that gray beard. I know her gray chops. They're so cute. I'm sorry, I'm behind. Look at her floppy ears. Much energy. Marijuana, yes. The devil's lettuce. Who's as cracked as she is jacked, right? In Wyoming, we call it Walter. What? You call marijuana Walter? Is Wyoming okay? We'd call our plug and ask, where's Walter? No, you go to jail longer for cannabis than meth. What? At least that's the way it was when I lived there. Risto, get it together. Loved. Live, laugh, love. That was a great typo. Thank you, Leah. No, loved is fine. Big book of mental spice. I had a patient once who thought he was a glass of orange juice from eating 100 hits of acid in the 80s. It definitely can have major life-changing effects. Yeah. No fucking shit. 100 tabs? I'm surprised the guy's alive. That's insane. Good evening. Hey, Zomo. What's up? So the movie scenes where throwing up drugs after 10 to 30 minutes is complete BS with zero after effects? Yeah. Entirely. Yes. Unless you swallowed it in like a steel capsule or something, in which case you wouldn't have ever gotten the effects anyways. I guess your stomach would eventually. No, you would pass it before your stomach acid would be able to get to it. Anyways, also give the drugs time to take effect before taking more. Otherwise, you could take more than you intend. Yes, Leia. Exactly. Walter equals meth. Oh, I was thinking Walter White. I was going to go with that. Walter equals cannabis. Weird. Meth makes more sense, though, because Walter from Breaking Bad. Yeah, that's where I was thinking. Anyways, there's all kinds of different names for stuff. And also, don't be afraid to, depending on your jurisdiction, you should be able to get drug testing kits. And if you're at a, what do you call those things? Festivals, there's usually drug testing facilities there. Don't be afraid to do that, right? Because taking one drug in its intended way and with its safe interaction, other drugs like alcohol and stuff like that. Don't forget, alcohol is a drug. Is fine, but if it's cut with something else that you were supposed to take in different order or amounts, you can really fuck up. Lots of people have overdoses because they're ingesting substances that they're not aware of, right? So, anyways. Cops would tap phones and shit, so we would ask where Walter's at, and then they'd say, yeah, they'll bring him over. Yeah, this is pre-Breaking Bad. Interesting. I don't know that I ever, really looked for drugs as, a young person that way. Now I just, I don't look for drugs now. As you know, I've been talking about being clean. But again, I know someone that just, when they were using drugs, would just have a regular, they'd just be like, I'll have my usual kind of thing. And that was it. So, I don't even picture Walter from Breaking Bad. I picture an old dude with super suspenders. LOL. Interesting indeed. I don't look for drugs either. Yeah. Well, and to a certain degree, if you're in a certain crowd and you're a certain person or you look a certain type of way, drugs find you, right? Which, people sometimes will be like, oh, that's great. Lucky you. But other times, not so great, right? My dad grew, sorted, and sold weed. He taught us from early age how to sift seeds and leaves. He would then light up a test joint and beat us black and blue. Okay. Telling us to never use. Content warning. We tend to be a little bit more on the indirect fashion with those sorts of topics because in our community we have people that have had different experiences with that sort of stuff, and we want to protect our psychological well-being of our whole community, myself included. So going forward, if we could keep references to stuff less explicit than that would be great, please. No, that's okay. I say this without having like a hard and fast rule about it, right? This is a stigma-free place where we are definitely open to talking about things that are difficult and stuff like that. But I try and talk about them a little bit more codedly, like experiencing physical abuse is a way that I've spoken about these sorts of things a little bit less directly, though that can still be triggering, and I recognize that. Nomenclature is important here. So, instead of saying the R word, which can be really triggering for some people that experience sexual assault, we would say sexual assault, right? So heard and understood. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate you respecting that and keeping our community here really safe, psychologically, emotionally. I want people to feel comfortable sharing things. And let's circle back to, I'm really sorry that happened to you. That really sucks. And I really appreciate you feeling comfortable enough to share that with us. And that really, 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 really fucking sucks. And no one should ever have to go through that, especially like being exposed to, I'm presuming, illegal drugs in the house and physical and probably accompanying psychological and emotional abuse is something that no one should ever have to go through. So I apologize that you had to experience that, and I hope that you are in a safer place now. So I think the fact that we now have products that help female presenting people from experiencing the R word, nearly endless until mom finally had enough. Good for her. I'm glad that, there was a line, because some people, it's difficult to get out of those situations. It's a direct result from people looking a certain way. Yeah. Hug Scient, hug love from Risto. Others feeling the need to take advantage of this. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of social pressures and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, we're kind of like getting a little bit off track here. We've been talking about drugs and being off track of the ADHD thing. But I mean, I guess this is a good opportunity for us to touch back on the fact that a lot of attentional disorders, a lot of mental disorders of any kind, are because of those negative emotional experiences. And of course, negative emotional experiences would accompany negative, literal physical experiences, right? And as I talked about, those accumulate, and, of course, processing them, overtly with a professional is ideal. But one of the other ways to help process that, even if you are doing things with a professional, a way to augment that and to enhance that sort of thing is to do the mindfulness and to try to do meditative work and interoceptive things so that you can enhance when you do feel positive things. Because frequently, especially if you're still in an ongoing situation where you're experiencing negative emotional things, which we experience day to day, like this doesn't need to be profound and deep and crazy and oh my God, I can't believe that happened to you level of bad things for people to have emotional experiences that are going to cause them to have, mental disorders such as ADHD that present later on in life or present, presently, or to activate that so that it presents more strongly can happen. There's not like hard and fast rules about this, and things don't need to be bad enough for them to be bad and to have a profound effect on our abilities to just live our lives day to day and focus, right? So we talk a lot about carrying things with you and your childhood experiences and your, life experiences generally affecting how you exist, in your day to day and your abilities to handle things. But I think what we don't acknowledge is the power of the not so bad stuff to help balance that out. And, it's certainly a lot easier said than done, especially if you're in a ocean of negativity kind of thing and there's very few positive things, to just be like, oh, you just need to like focus on the positive. That's bullshit. And I do not abide by that. But what I do abide by is potentially using the tool of interoception, in internally focused or internally directive perception of your state when you're having those things, those positive moments, no matter how rare they are, so that you can ring them for every single drop in them. And it's not something that, is another list on your things to do. And no one should ever experience those shitty of situations. But if you can take anything from this stream and operationalize it in your day-to-day life, it could be that utilizing that interoception during positive emotional experiences can allow you to turn the volume up on that might give you a toehold enough to drag yourself out if you're in a negative spot that feels overwhelming, right? So I don't know that that's anybody's reality necessarily, but it's easier to assume that it might be some people's reality. And I don't want to act like this is really easy to just like go around like that. But, this stream on topic, never heard of her. Age 5 to 7, 10 to 15, he came back from being in the big house for drugs and theft. Mom was addicted to dad. Yeah, he didn't treat her well, but she could not get enough of him. Yeah, see, and that's the cycle of abuse. That's something that is very, very, very difficult for people to disengage from, right? And it's something that is why we need to be mindful of other people's realities and be as supportive as we can, right? Because you never know what other people are going through. And, the difference between, holding space for someone that's going through something like that and being like, I don't get why they don't just leave him, is night and day, right? I know people that have been in these situations, so it's my first time here. This seems accurate. LOL. My brothers tried a lot of stuff, my sister too, but I never touched any drugs. I taste tested alcohol, but bitter and sour flavors are not appealing to me. Well, I mean, that's good. Props to you if that's something that's like, in your, realm is to be off of any of those substances, then that's great and something that you should be proud of and take out and, wave your flag of pride, right? Dougie Licious, at least this time the topic is ADHD makes it meta. Listen, I never profess to ever stay on topic. That's not something that it's not even really a goal. I just want to talk about things that are going to be useful to people, that are vaguely in the realm of what I intended to talk about. But honestly, if chat takes a turn and, there's something that's seeming like it's going to be more useful to people in here, I don't care. My life is a tangent. So let's do it. Yeah. Even the stuff that I went through, which I will not go into here, while not as bad as what some other people have gone through, causes negativity thoughts wise. Absolutely it does. It's ridiculously difficult to not have a negative thought pattern in that situation. Let's just take a mental health minute to watch Hoon make the bed. Oh, almost. This is one of my favorite things. This brings me a lot of joy. Especially when she pushes the stuff with her snout. Oh, not quite. I love when she almost gets it. Don't. Gonna make holes. You're gonna make holes in Mom's sheets. She has made holes in my sheets, just so that we're aware here. Look at that. A circle. A little black void. Look at her ears. I love my dog. Where was I? Sorry. That was a little Hoon break. For whatever reason, this current ramble reminds me of something who the doctor that diagnosed me said about memory and overwhelm, and that at some points the brain stops recording. 100% it does. Your brain is constantly trying to protect you and is always in survival mode. Yeah, so this is where like repressed memories or dissociation and stuff like that comes from. When you have a bad experience, and it doesn't have to be bad enough, like, because bad enough for one person is relative. Some people unfortunately experience, very negative things throughout their existence. And so like what is ordinary to them might be horrific to other people, and it's not for us to say what's bad enough or not bad enough, right? Like, because the individual's brain is going to be the determining factor there, but your brain is basically trying always to protect you. So when traumatic things happen, yeah, that's how dissociative identity disorder and stuff like that come about, right? Is like hyper dissociation during situations of abuse usually. Or neglect, things like that. Oh, I have a bunch of papers on interoception, mostly related to dementia patients. Interesting. How much would the self-concept of someone with dementia be accessible? I don't know. That sounds cool. We should dive into the toxic positivity that happens sometimes. Yeah, I think that's really important to acknowledge. Like, lots of people's approach to things is like, just don't feel that way. And that's just honestly the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because like, if I could not feel that way, I would not feel that way. Like, that hasn't worked. Tried that, which is why I think therapy is another reason that therapy is so useful. Isn't just because you're treating the thing, but it's also extraordinarily validating to have someone be like, yeah, that's a fucking thing. Of course. Or in situations like this, to have someone validate your situation and be like, that really sucks. Or to have your community be like, yeah, hey, I had this situation. Oh, that's kind of like this situation and stuff like that. Guys, I need to adjust my nose here. I need to blow my nose. Itchy. I don't want to sneeze again, you guys. I think I'm good. Do I have boogers? No. Sorry. Being negative gets to the point of full toxicity. It's difficult to escape and even harder to not continue the learned attitudes. It took me years to have a somewhat positive outlook. Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like, recognizing that toxic positivity is a thing is like one side of the coin, but also recognizing how extraordinarily difficult it is to unmire yourself from like the bog of negativity is really, really difficult. And I think that I'm going to beat the therapy drum until it fucking falls off. But that's the reason that I think, even if your life isn't going super bad, go to fucking therapy, because it can get bad. It can get bad right away. You never know what's going to happen. Someone that's very important to you, you could lose them. Your pet, for like all of the good things in your life are temporary. Right? Potentially. So even if you're not actively having a bad time, still go to therapy, because it's already really hard to pull yourself out of negativity, right? But it's even harder to start doing the process of getting the tools to try and drag yourself out of the negativity if you're already in it, if you haven't started that. So if you've been thinking even remotely like, hey, maybe I should try that, or maybe I should look into that, or maybe I should see if there's resources for making it more affordable, because I know this isn't super accessible, and we talk about this almost every time, but I don't care. Starting now, like, if it's even remotely something that you think would be helpful, if it's even for half a second crossed your mind, do the work to look into it while you have the bandwidth. If you have the bandwidth. If you don't have the bandwidth, talk to someone that might. Right now, I won't disclose people's names, but someone that's extraordinarily close to me their partner is going through really, really negative stuff right now with their work and has recently started medication and stuff like that. And the person that's really close to me has been saying that they want their partner to get therapy for a long fucking time and that they think it would be really helpful. And finally got to the point where they were like, do you want me to help you get there? And that's really kind of the person that I'm super close with to offer to their partner. But it can also go the opposite way. The partner can be like, hey, would you help me out with this? Like, it doesn't always have to be you. It's okay to reach out. It's okay to go, you know, in a community like this and be like, hey, does anybody know of resources? I'm from this place. Risto is an incredible person for that. He talks about that on his Coffee Talk Sundays, about resources for mental health and stuff like that in America, for sure. And I think he's got some resources for international locations. But going from different avenues and asking for help is something that, you know, I can't underplay enough. It doesn't always have to be you. Your life doesn't have to be perfect. Your life doesn't have to be shitty for you to want to work on it. Your life doesn't have to be perfect for you to, you know, just, I don't know. It's hard for me to not get like worked up about it, right? Anyways, so meta. All it's missing is the zebra from Madagascar singing polka dot song. I'm going to work at an interoception autism lab in September 2 at the US. It's funny to hear you talk about it. That's interesting. You know, and I'm relatively new to like, I mean, I know stuff about like interoceptive cues and their influences on like, you know, behavior, and especially as it pertains to addiction, but like broadly speaking, interoception as a mechanism or a treatment or a modality for augmenting, you know, modalities of thought. I don't know. I know very little about it, only what I've just read in preparation for this. So in any event, oh my God, toxic positivity. Yes, that would be a good topic because it's a gnarly thing. Nose blowing for science. Mr. Potato Head needs to change her nose. I wish I could change my nose. Actually, I think my nose is kind of cute. It like suits my face, but I get really bad nosebleeds. I get like I fucked up my nose. It's just I get allergies super bad, you know, all of those things. Normality for some people can include what most consider traumatic or shocking. Having grown up in such a home, talking openly about it because it was my normal growing up caused me to lose a lot of friends and opportunities. I never understood speaking about domestic violence or my dad's drug abuse business was taboo. So like moments ago when you called me out on the uncensored stuff, even today it's a challenge to remind myself to keep it PG and censor myself. Well, I think it's one of those things where it's very easy to get to a point where sharing is kind of a mechanism for testing people's, you know, it's almost like a sense of vulnerability. And it's like I'm not saying that this is necessarily your case, but I know personally for me that like oversharing, I guess, in some cases is a way that I would be like, you know, here's how fucked up I am. Do you want to deal with it? And like, okay, yeah, I thought so. Run along. You know what I mean? With like friends and especially like new romantic partners, which isn't really like situationally appropriate to what you're talking about here. But how I can relate to that is certainly like oversharing in an like not inappropriate way, but like in a way that like I don't think would be adaptive to myself or that is sensitive to the people around me. And not that you should always be worried about other people's comfort levels, but certainly being sensitive to, you know, what's harmful to other people is something that's like really important to include in like how we comport ourselves, right? So the only thing certain in life are taxes and death. Build yourself a support structure before it gets bad. Yeah, absolutely. What's normal for a spider is chaos to a fly. Ooh, that's some deep shit. I like that. I've been going to therapy for most of my life, but I think my most recent therapist is going to be the most helpful of all the therapists I've had. That's really great. My therapist now, I adore. I had therapy today and it was amazing and I love her. And it's not always amazing. It's frequently difficult and very, very, very draining. But more often than not, I walk out of it. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I walk out of it very grateful. Especially that I have access to that resource, even though it used to be very expensive for me. I found a way to kind of get around that a little bit. But even when it was, I like was paying $250 a session, which is cheap by a lot of standards. The way that changed my day-to-day existence was worth it. Do you know what I mean? Like I was money I didn't have, but it was giving me back life that I wasn't living. Do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds very deep, but it's true. It's okay to not be okay, but it's good to have an idea for resources. Well, therapy is also different for everyone. Something like sitting in an office with someone for an hour a week works for some people and might not work for others. Because she had me do homework after my first session on life traps, and I think us going through it will help to work through a bunch of stuff, not only a healthy healing way, but also in a way that will help me better suited to situations where things that happen to me will be better handled. Yeah, building your toolbox is incredibly important, right? And I think that a lot of therapy modalities these days are just about building your toolbox, because the idea is that you don't need therapy for your entire life, ideally, right? Like, and there's no shame if you do. And I think that people should always be checking back, just like they go to doctors for the rest of their body for regular checkups to make sure everything's okay. I think you should be doing that for your brain. But, the idea is that you won't need ongoing, deep, intensive therapy for your entire life, because hopefully you will resolve some of the things that are distressing to you, right? But, yeah. I see my therapist in my bedroom at my PC. Me too, Risto. I see her right here with this mic on this computer with that background every single day. And usually on Fridays right before stream. So if I'm ever like, that's why. But frequently lately I've been doing pretty okay. And it's been like more about trying to enhance the goodness and fortify the positive aspects of my life that I've managed to curate over years of effort of being in therapy. I've been in therapy regularly since 2020. No, well, the beginning of 2021, I guess, because it was the end of 2020. And I'm just starting to get to a place where life is kind of neutral. Like if I'm going to be frank about my own mental health, I, until earlier this year, struggled deeply with rough shit, mental health wise. And I'm now finally to a place where I'm like talking to my therapist about like, life's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's pretty neutral. And she's like, well, maybe neutral is your new rock bottom. And wouldn't that be nice? And I'm like, yeah, I guess it would be. Wouldn't it be great to know that I've said sayonara to like the deep holes of unending depression? I think so. And, it took work, but it's infinitely worth it, right? There's so many different ways to go to therapy. One thing to remember when it comes to therapy is your therapist provides you tools. You've got to do the work. Therapists can guide you and teach you and help you cope with your issues. I'm going to stop typing you. It's nearly 11 p.m. Time has no meaning. We're here 5 ever. LOL. It's okay, Risto. Hope to cope is a fine way to describe it. Well, and I think also, like, Risto, you're not wrong. Your therapist provides the tools, but you've got to do the work is true. But I would be careful to also phrase it that sometimes just going to therapy to get by is okay too. You know what I mean? Like, going to therapy is the work sometimes. Like, yeah, there's a way to wring the sponge and get every drop and be super engaged in it. And I tend to intellectualize, and that's the way that I approach it. But I do know that not everybody's like that, right? Some people therapy is to them a signal that they're, at the lowest of the low, and that's really hard for them to admit. And so sometimes for them, the work is just in admitting that there is work to do, not necessarily actually doing it, right? So I try to not frame it as something that's like, it's going to be a grind, and blah, blah. Not saying that you were doing that, but, it's really easy for the heuristic thought pattern of the popular kind of opinion to be like, you sit there and you're going to be crying the entire time, and it's going to be blah, blah, blah. And to think of it as this grueling, effortful thing every time. Frequently, I laugh my ass off in therapy, right? Oh, Nanner's Redeemed Hydrate. Love that. Let's do it. All of us together now. I didn't really do a magnificent stretch earlier either. You guys, my hips and lower back are just fucking killing me lately. Ugh. I'm dying. Ugh. I need someone come and massage my neck. And I don't mean that like creepily. Just like, I'm dying. Ugh. And massages are so expensive. Why? In my experience, some has lingered and some has left. I assume it's different for all of us, but time and healing seem to change. Same. I laugh, I cry, I rage. I have great philosophical discussions. Yeah, it's something that it can be really enriching, right? And you're building a relationship with someone that's going to know the most intimate parts of you in a lot of ways, right? Like, I think it's so easy to think of it as transactional and it's all about you, but you're also reminding yourself that you can have a safe relationship where you are fully vulnerable and someone is still there. I know that you're paying for it, but trust me when I say if therapists do not want to work with you, they will not. Any therapist that is trained well as a psychologist, psychiatrist, or board certified counselor of some kind is trained to protect their own well-being, because you can't pour from an empty cup kind of thing is like the philosophical way to say it, but they are trained for that. So when you have a therapeutic, like the therapeutic alliance, they call that you have with your therapist when you're in there, can, if you zoom out, be a good anchor and proof to yourself that you are worth that person showing up just like you are showing up for yourself. That's amazing. That's incredible. Even if you don't go to therapy, but you're just thinking about showing up for yourself, give yourself a fucking pat on the back for even entertaining taking care of yourself, because that is a huge step. A lot of people don't even see their own self-worth enough to admit that that might even be useful. So props for that, right? But if you do end up going to therapy or pursuing any sort of therapeutic modality, whether it's formal talk therapy or group interactions or anything that you think is going to be therapeutic like that, give yourself props, but also recognize that that person is choosing to be there just as much as you're choosing to be there. And that is someone showing up for you and reminding you that you have worth and you have value. And if they thought you were a lost cause or wanted to bump you off to someone else, they would. And they can. And that's not necessarily a diss to you, because if they really wanted to, they could just never talk to you again, too. There's no penalization for that in their professional designation, right? If they don't want to work with you because they don't like you, they'll never tell you that, first of all. But if they pass you off to someone else, that's them saying, this person is still worth working on. It's not going to be me that's going to do it. I think someone else could do it better. But like, your intrinsic worth is still so much ingrained in that. And I don't know, even coming to a neuroscience stream like this to be like, hey, ADHD and focus, like that might be useful to me. Props, right? And the fact that I'm here talking to all strangers means that I value you. I'm reading every single line of chat because I care. And I'm not trying to give myself a gold star, though I do deserve one. But, remind yourselves that people can walk in and out of your life as much as they want and frequently do. And that hurts, but there's a whole bunch of people that are choosing to be there. And if that can give you just that little bit of boost to remind yourself that, even when you don't find yourself worthy enough, there's people out there that do, myself included. So anyways, she really helped me not feel crazy. We've talked a bit about, but she helped me not feel crazy with my gifts. Yeah. Remember, folks, in most situations, you have control over your treatment. If you don't vibe with your therapist, you can ask for a new therapist. And here's the other thing. A lot of cost restriction makes it so that, when I was going through the university, Risto, I completely missed this. Thank you so much. You're Mr. Gift Sub. You're so kind. I adore you so much. Gold star. Was that my gold star? You're so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. I absolutely adore all of you. Oh, science. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You guys, it's been 3 hours. This has flown by. I can't believe this. I want to finish reading these. Remember, yeah, you can ask for a new therapist 100%. And yeah, it's do it. Find you someone that rules, because I went through 5 therapists before I got to the one that I have now, and oh my God, life altering. And all the other ones were helpful too, and I extracted what I could out of them because that was the only resource that I had that was affordable, and they weren't not helpful. They were just very minimally helpful, but still helpful, right? A cat message interrupted my typing. My Omega loves to massage her daddy's chest. She purrs non-stop, like your dog walks in circles until she settles, my baby. Yes, work for someone you vibe with. And to make this meta, symptoms of ADHD, PDHD, and trauma can overlap. Oh, yes. I've kind of beat this drum endlessly, but the symptoms of almost all of the mental disorders, there was actually a really interesting paper about this, like just in the last couple of months, that I've been wanting to talk about, but I haven't really known where to fit it in. And I'll try and find it for next time and pull it up because I think it's really interesting. But they did a meta-analysis. Not a meta-analysis. They looked at the DSM and someone categorized every single disorder in the DSM and the symptoms. And then they grouped all the symptoms like together. So frequently, like sleep disruptions are going to be part of depression, generalized anxiety. Okay, so major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, panic disorder, bipolar 1, bipolar 2, obsessive compulsive, those are just the affective disorders that are affecting sleep, right? And that's like a very small fraction of what's in the DSM. But someone went through and categorized all of these things and found that there's so much overlap, which suggests the dimensionality of these things, right? So when we talk about ADHD, it's not you have it or you don't, it's how bad you have attentional differences. And some of the best experts in the world are wanting to kind of label it. I thought I wrote it down as, what did they relabel it as? Because it used to be called executive dysfunction disorder. And now they're saying that, where is it? I don't know if I wrote it down, you guys. I don't think I wrote it down. Anyways, they're talking about basically it just kind of being a different attentional style. I don't know. In any event, and that's not what it's officially known as. Zulu Charlie just followed. Thank you so much. Welcome to the community. Yeah, and definitely check out Science, as I was saying at the beginning of the stream when I tried to give a shout out and miserably failed. Science is one of the reasons that I decided to do this, because I stumbled upon their stream and saw that you could do science communication on Twitch and was like, wow, that's amazing. So here I am doing my, very not safe for work version of things where we get off topic a lot. And but Science, they do all kinds of stuff, really. Like they run the gamut. So if you like Science and you like Twitch, you'll definitely like them 100,000%. So, oh, you found me from Science. See, and here's the other thing. Science, they're just so nice and amazing and supportive, and I don't know, that's just stacking greatness on more greatness. What more can you ask for other than Science communicators to not be the ivory tower scientists that are like, the intellectual stuff is only for us intellectuals. You wouldn't understand it, you peon. I think I can safely speak for Science and myself, and that is not at all. We are anti that. We want to make it accessible. Part of their mandate is making, science fun and accessible to everybody. And I would say that that's very much like kind of on my agenda as well. So yeah, some of them are on Twitch too. Yeah. So anyways, where are we? Oh, sorry, Shannon, I missed your thing. He can't hear you. He's streaming currently. He's just lurking as the legend he is because I'm currently lurking his stream. That's so sweet. Well, in any event, we could raid him. I frequently raid Science, but it's because I like watching their stream after too, and I like to plug them because they're pluggable. You know, I like you know when people are like, you gotta watch this show. Oh my God, you gotta watch this show. And you're like, listen, you've told me 1,000 times. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you because you should just keep checking it out. Or if you haven't already, you should just do it. Anyways. Is that the one where it talks about the DSM? Oh yeah, I've heard about that too. You should do a thing on it. It looks so interesting. Yeah, the DSM thing, it's cool. They have amazing graphics in this paper too. It must have been so much work, but it was really cool. And I will definitely bring it up in probably next stream. I think, yeah, vulgar science. Layla and I would have some fun talking about that. We might even just be able to talk broadly about comorbidities. That could be a fun low effort thing for us because she will have just gotten back from California. We both have a pile of grading to do. So, you know, vulgar science on Monday might be another low effort one for us that we don't have to research too much, but disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. Yeah, something like that, right? Some of them are, but I still like watching their stream just to see from their point of view. Yeah, you guys, let's find someone to raid, and if it's science, I'm not even gonna be mad about it. So yeah, because I can feel my headache like aura coming back. When I like moved my neck earlier and like creaked it a certain way, I was like, uh-oh. Stiff neck is like something that I like really relate to my migraine like life. So we'll see. I might end up taking a somatroptan right after this. Okay, so who's on? I don't know any of these people. Some of these people I like followed from, you know, just being in other people's streams and having them get a shout out and stuff like that, but I've never actually looked at them. California Burbs is cool, but it's so far just a stream of their like yard, I think. And then that person's offline. Science. Hoot House is cool, but again, it's just a live stream of birds. It's not like an actual person. What's subraid? I don't know what's happening. What's this? Oh, you made a little thing. That's cute. That brings me joy. I like that we have our little thing. Successfully added command subraid. Good luck managing your migraine. Thanks for the stream and keeping me entertained while stuck at work. You can always count on me, Muse Clues, and thank you for being the OG, the number one, the first ever person to watch me stream, and for being here, I think, every stream since then. Your loyalty and interaction and everything is greatly appreciated, as is it with the rest of y'all. You guys are just, you're awesome, and you make this awesome. Can we suggest a raid channel? Yeah, I mean, sure. I was gonna go science, but we can, yeah. Who do you suggest? I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, but you can suggest one. We'll see. Good night, Douglicious. Is the person that you're gonna suggest, Freedom, are they on? Are they on? Pew, pew, pew. You might be taking too long for me to be patient, so you might have to just suggest it in the Discord and we might just be doing science. It's another stem strainer. Cerebrus dead. Okay. Can someone vet this for me? Listen, I don't know if it's like, what if it's a stream that I don't align with? Maybe I should check it out before I raid. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I went to Mahoodles before I did that, but I missed a week or so with work, y'all, and you sent a search party after me. Did I? Yeah, check it first. Okay. It's also just very difficult to... You know what? I've already partway typed in science, so we're doing it this time. But can you, Freedom, if you're in our Discord, drop it in there, and then I'll remember to check it out between now and then. I think it's /raid, science_streams. We're doing it. We're going. Okay. I love you guys all so much. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, new people. Thank you, people that I know in real life. Nanners, Carly. I'm sure Carly got a call. She was actually at work being a paramedic. And yeah, I adore you, Doug. Be safe. Enjoy Scotland. And yeah, I'm I'm creating the raid and we going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brr, 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 brr. We're doing it. I'm clicking it, but it's not working. There we go.